blessed with a championship prosperity the likes of which we have never seen, cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is Blursed.
Welcome to Blursed, the Atlanta sports podcast that leans in to the good, the bad, and the ugly of all Atlanta sports. A quick sidebar for anybody new. We aren't journalists. We aren't professional podcasters yet. I'm an accountant. Aaron is a retail manager, and Blake works in local government. But we love our Atlanta sports and UGA, and we have followed them for more than 20 years each. We are here not to recap games, and we aren't here to talk down to our listeners. Looking at you, Mike Bell.
Ooh,
we are here to have a sincere and entertaining conversation amongst friends about the thing we are most passionate about in life, which is Atlanta sports. And I hope you guys listening can feel that coming through our episodes and that you see us as friends and you'll come back to chat with us next week and in the future. All that being said, I'm your host, Hayden Cummins, and I'm joined with the full team this week. Aaron, Blake, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's up? Hello.
Oh, Blake, that was beautiful. I need more singing from you.
It's pretty good melody. You held it.
It legitimately was. I am enjoying a absolutely beautiful day down here in Marietta, Georgia.
Marietta.
Yep, not but about 5 miles from Truist Park is where I reside. So that's where we're hoping the sun shines a little brighter on Truist Park next time we the boys suit up and get in there. Much like the sun is shining today.
And shine out such the clear. Or what is it? What do they say in Lord of the Rings?
That
was Sam. Oh yeah, that's okay. Cool. Yeah. We have a friend watching Lord of the Rings for the first time right now. So shout out DJ as you finish this journey. Yeah. Hope you.
We've actually got him in the corner right over there. He can't leave until he's done with the.
He's been in there for a couple of weeks. Started with Rings of Power. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah. He actually. Yeah. He knew. I guess. Yeah. You're not up to date on that. DJ is shout out Deej. He went chronological order. So he watched the entire Rings of Power first, and then all the Hobbits, and now he's starting Loader,
which is kind of cool, honestly. Like,
I think it's good. I suggested him go that way because, as someone who wasn't the biggest fan of the show and doesn't like half of the Hobbit content,
that's fair.
Specifically the third one.
Yes, specifically that one.
It's really bad.
I in my mind, and I didn't want to tell him this, but I was like, go ahead and knock that shit out of the way.
It'll only get better as you go.
Strong, because it's like he's someone who's never been into the lore or been into Lord of the Rings, so it's like, why get him hooked and then disappoint him after that?
Right. Yeah. So we're also a Lord of the Rings podcast too, guys. So welcome.
Welcome.
But we do talk good TV, and I think honestly it's a great suggestion. And I think I like the show, but I think someone who doesn't know the rest of it might like it even more starting that way. But I like to bring you fun facts if you don't know this about me. So my fun fact for today is Julius Randle scored the 8th most three-pointers made this year in the NBA.
How tall is he?
I don't know.
Throwback to when we used to shout out fun facts that were specifically height sizes.
But he did score 218 three-pointers this year, which is, that's a ton. That's the most from a power forward by a large margin. So the next one is Lauri Markkanen, who played for the Utah Jazz this year, and he scored 200, so 18 more than him. Pretty cool.
I've always thought Lauri Markkanen sounds like a character from Dune. I don't know if you guys are big into the Dune franchise, but I love it.
I haven't gotten there yet.
You should.
Did
you watch the movie?
I'm not a Timothée Chalamet guy myself.
That's right. We did
he
talk
was good
about
in the
that.
movie, and I think
something bugs me about him. I don't know why.
Tom Holland.
Yes,
Markkanen could play he could play like the blonde counterpart to the guy you just mentioned. I feel like in that, because they're both good-looking young men who, I don't know, look like they could be princes of foreign planets.
Keep talking about him, Blake.
I can go a little further. We get into this. Lauri Markkanen is actually a player who I think would complement Trae Young really well. So if Utah Jazz are trying to sell him, let's get him. Let's go get him, please. But yeah, so that's just a little bit about me. I will tell you fun facts about size of height and weights for football players.
You also gave us
come this
2
fall.
fun facts, by the way. I don't know if you noticed that. The first fun fact was that you like to give fun facts, and then the second one was
it's too fun, too furious.
Ew.
A lot of fun going on right here.
Yes. Speaking of great movies.
Oh, the Fast
I
and
actually
Furious.
like
Yeah.
Fast and Furious movies. I enjoy those movies.
Gosh,
That
I
says
just said they were
says
great.
so much about you. But
it really does.
They're just fun to watch.
I'm a
that's
man
all.
of culture and art myself, so not for me. I just offended like half our listeners, I'm sure.
I hope you did.
What do you say, guys? Let's get into our Blursed of the week. But first, if you guys are new or don't know, you don't have to listen to every segment now
You
on
should.
YouTube. You should. But if you aren't interested in every Atlanta sports team, go ahead and look down at the chapters on YouTube or check our show notes, and they have timestamps. So you can skip down to whatever section you might want to listen to. But everybody should listen to all of them, including Blursed of the week.
And if you,
Oh, cut you off.
Worst of the week.
that is my blurst of the week. I'm just kidding.
Better awareness, Blake. God,
I didn't realize.
situational awareness.
I'm so sorry. I walked into
Hayden
it.
teed himself up perfectly.
Yeah, we tee off this, man. Get off my
Oh,
court.
wow.
What I have to say about that is if you can't pay attention to an hour and a half programming, we also have awesome TikToks and Instagram reels
Yes.
and YouTube shorts that our intern does a really good job on. So
He does.
Raindrop.
They do.
TikTok.
Mhm.
drop top.
Okay.
Blurst of the week. Here we go.
My God.
Youngest
Get
verse.
into it, Blake. Blake, get into it. Go.
All right. Hey, everybody. So my blurst of the week this week is actually the thought that the Hawks could go above 41-41. We talked about it last week. They got the important win they needed to secure that 8th position in the
They
play-in
did.
tournament. And after they got that, like
That was
we all
it.
knew they would, they're like, all right, we're done playing for the year. Let's
Okay,
go.
the season's over.
41-41. So the most historically mid-year or mid-season in NBA history ends the way it should at 41-41. I will caveat this: if you're just a Hawks fan and you don't keep up with the rest of the NBA, it's actually not a bad year to go 41-41 in a year that like is historically mid. And we'll get into this when we talk about the playoffs here in a little bit. But there's only like 3 or 4 good teams in the East and like 1-2 good teams in the West, and everyone else is like historically mediocre with a couple of scary players. And the Hawks find themselves in that same category. So I really do think the playoffs are wide open this year, which is pretty fun.
So before I go to mine, I'm going to try to figure out a way if I myself can get a graphic to where we put like a counter somewhere on the screen, and it's called the caveat counter, and it ticks up every time Blake says the word caveat. It happens a lot.
I'll check with the intern. See if he can
I'm
throw
not-
something together.
I think part of it
I'm a
is
fan. I
like-
say we donate $1 to charity for every time he says.
Oh.
caveat.
Anytime I try to look at the glass half full, it would be a lot. We'd owe a lot of money.
Yeah, well, that's true. All right,
So
so
we don't make any money. It would be bad. It would be really bad for us.
Yes. So my Blurst of the week is of course soccer themed, as a lot of them are for me. And mine's gonna be the new striker, the new number 7. Or he wears number 7. He's the number 9 though, position wise. Not to be confusing. For Atlanta United. And Georgia gosh dang it. I had it great, man.
You did
This
say
is
it
the-
right
This
earlier.
is the first time I've messed up his name. Anyway, Yorgos Yakimakis.
There it is.
He did score. If you just looked at the score line or the final box score of the Atlanta United NYCFC game, that's also tricky to get out.
Yes, it
all
is.
those C's and F's. Anyway, he scored our only goal, and is I guess if that's all you saw, you'd think, oh wow, the man's still producing. And yes, he is. And I'm never ever going to say I'm not happy about a striker scoring a goal, because guess what, folks? That's what they're paid to do. But I would say that the blurst here comes from the fact that it was the worst game he's played in an Atlanta United uniform, which isn't many games. It's only been 7. But it was bad. It was really, really bad. He was the reason, or he scored the goal that, kept us from losing. However, he had so many chances. He should have, and we'll get into that later on the United segment, but he should have scored. And so I'm disappointed in his output. And I'm not saying that in a mean way, because it was evident on the field. he was disappointed. There was actually several times. There was one time he lost the ball out of bounds, and you could audibly hear him scream the F word from where, and I don't think the mic was nearby. So
Fudge.
Yeah, fudge is what he said. But
Sure
anyway,
wasn't
yeah.
fun fact.
No.
Okay.
But as a caveat to that, we get into Hayden's Blursed of the week.
Oh man. Okay. Let's caveat this with. No, I'm just kidding. So my Blursed of the week is going to have to be all the injuries that have occurred with the Braves' first week. It's been tough with all the guys going down, and a couple more this past weekend. We'll get into the details. But I guess the blessed side of that being it's early in the season. None of them have been long-term injuries. They could be nagging injuries, but we've been pretty fortunate so far that they're not like season ending, I'll say. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm going to land. That's it.
I think what we realize is we're an away team. We just need to play every game on the road.
So it would seem.
There's 80 wins at least. We just got to win.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I will vote for
Aaron,
I forget
we vote.
Because I don't know, soccer.
No, I vote Aaron too, honestly.
Soccer.
No, I vote
I gotta
Aaron
give some shine to soccer here.
Yeah, there you go.
To really set the stage, and we're getting into the soccer, is that the fact that we tied this game up down a player, and he still deserves being the Blursed of the fact that he didn't do better. Like I think that's a good find. It's a good find there, Aaron, and it's something that our average listener may not have been looking at and be like, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to vote Hayden. Not that the vote matters right at this point, but it's because I think you can't get more Blursed than having such a promising start. And then in the middle of that promising start of the first two series, you take some key injuries that, like Hayden said, they weren't long term. Yeah. Thank goodness. But man, did they screw us in the most of that Padres series.
The old shit sandwich, as I like to say. All right, before we move on to the Braves segment, if you like our content, give us a follow or subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Speaking of, a special shout out to our new subs, Owen Hendricks and P. Young. What's up, guys? Thanks for joining. If your YouTube account is set to private, I can't see your name, but if you want a shout out and you subscribe to our channel, leave us a comment and I'll shout you out on the next episode. Nice. If you like the cut of our jib, leave us a 5-star review or give us a like on YouTube as well. Join our Discord community at discord.io/blursports to chat with us directly, get into the conversation. We're having a great time in there. It's really fun. It's not that hard to learn the technology once you're used to it. So we can help with that too for anybody that's a little technologically inept, as you say. I had a hard time with it at first as well, but this young man, Blake, here helped me with it. The twinkle in our eye.
That is.
Finally, follow us on whatever social media you have. We're everywhere at Blursed Sports on Twitch, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Working on Facebook. So just got to find a 45-year-old social media manager.
You're right.
So a little bit over our age range. But that's it. That's our plug segment there. Let's talk Braves. All righty. So as we alluded to, it was an up and down week for sure. First, we sweep the Cardinals in St. Louis, which is incredibly impressive. They're the overall favorite to win the NL Central. And
it doesn't look like it so far, though.
Yeah, I mean, they've struggled mostly against us, but
true.
If you consider our starters for that series too, it's even more unlikely that we would sweep them at home. Uncle Chuck, Charlie Morton with the first start, Dylan Dodd making his first MLB start, and then Bryce Elder. So we swept that series, which is incredible and very impressive. And then we followed that up by coming home to Truist, and we win on a walk-off. Orlando Arcia has a walk-off single, and Eddie Rosario scores, and it seemed like all was well. And then they weren't. Things went downhill for the rest of that 4-game series. We lost the last 3 at home. We lost 5-4, 4-1, and then 10-2 on Sunday Night Baseball on national stage. So that always hurts a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right. So it's been a little bit rocky here, you could say. Dylan Dodd's second start did not go quite as well as his first. He gave up 7 runs. So looks like some adjustments were made. All that being said, the Padres are a very talented team. And so,
for sure.
There's 2 of those games were winnable. The last one, we'll toss it out because they were honest from the start. I had the game on, and every time I left the room for whatever reason, I'd go to the bathroom or let the dogs outside, and I'd come back, and then Kinsey would start laughing. I was like, did they hit another home run? It's like every single time I was not looking at the screen, the Padres.
Why are you not watching the TV, Hayden? After the first one, you should have been like, you know what? I can't leave this seat.
I guess that needs to be the thing. But yeah, so it was a little bit disappointing. We have a home series versus the Red, so we have 3 games with Cincinnati, and they are not very good. So hopefully we get back on track. I think Bryce Elder is starting tonight, Monday night. So hopefully we get a productive outing out of him. And then supposedly Kyle Wright is supposed to start on Tuesday. So hopefully we see him back. That'll be his first start of the year after he had some shoulder issues in spring training.
What are these? Oh, rose-covered glasses. Let me tell you why you shouldn't worry, Hayden.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so let me just say something. First off, we're still first place in our division. I'm sure Hayden will get into this. The Phillies still suck. They're under 500, 3-6. Secondly, we're actually still one of the top records in all of baseball, which is pretty crazy coming off a 3-game losing streak. And thirdly, we started off horrible last year, and we fought the entire season.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last episode too, that it wasn't before June before we were like, oh wait, we actually should try if we want to win our division. So with all that being said, we're going to have series like this where our lineup doesn't hit, and we have, like you said too, a bunch of young pitchers who are like Dylan Dodd had a horrible game. Was Schuster also had another bad game, right? Was it Schuster?
Yeah, he got called back up. He was Friday starter.
Yeah, so I mean, you're having young guys you weren't expecting to depend on early in the season come out and make mistakes. And I honestly look at it as a positive in the sense that they're getting playtime that they wouldn't have got otherwise, which helps us later in the year. Does it help our record right now? No. And is it disappointing? Because I'm right with y'all. I would have loved to start off the year with three winning series, or even like a split right there with the Padres. Because it just looks a little bit better to 7-3. But overall, I'm still jazzed about the team. I think you should be too. Like, I don't think there's any reason for us to be worried that, oh no, the Braves are going to be bad this year. And also, let me caveat. I'll use the word for Aaron. Mets and Phillies fans probably shouldn't be worried either. It's still early in the season. Like, you have good baseball teams. Like, these teams are going to be good. It's going to be a dogfight to the end. I just think the Braves are that much better than them.
It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to, like, compared to other sports. It's such a long season.
Yeah,
so like the games, they mathematically mean less. They really.
I think I heard Grant McCauley said like only 3% of the season or 4% of the season's been played so far, and of those games, Sean Murphy's only played in 2% of the top total Braves games. And like, people are like worrying about Sean Murphy, and it's like, stop. Like, it is just way too early to be concerned about these things right now.
Yeah. I think Anthony, our dear friend of the pod, Anthony, he said this to me last year, and it was that in baseball, every team's going to win 40, every team's going to lose 40. And it's that middle 80 that really matters right there. And I think that me being very reactionary, I was very disappointed in the 3 losses against the Padres. Obviously, as you guys saw in the Discord, I was upset about it. But yeah, I mean, I still totally agree with everything you both just said. I mean, it is such a long season, and you have the reason staring in front of you of those young pitchers getting shelled by one of the best lineups in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's tough.
I think the Padres are probably the second best lineup behind the Braves. Like, I think the Braves might be the best lineup in baseball. And I know I'm biased as a Braves
healthy.
fan.
I think they are. I mean,
but I think we are the best. And the Padres
they're one of the highest payroll, if not the highest, and it shows in their lineup, which is really deep. And they don't even have Fernando Tatis Jr. back yet, which he comes back in like 2 weeks. So we got to avoid him, and then I think we play them again at the end of next week.
Well, good. Bring him to us.
Yeah, so maybe we'll avoid him again. I'm okay with that. But yeah, so it's hard not to be reactionary when you have 3 losses in a row, because that doesn't happen to the Braves very often. I think it's like the first time since 2020 we've lost 3 in a row.
Right.
Actually, it is, because we lost 3 in a row to the Dodgers in the playoffs, if you guys want to remember that quite fondly.
That's right.
But that's the last time we've lost 3
That's the last time we've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah.
I remember last year was a big deal to go the whole season without losing 3 in a row.
Yeah.
I'll say this too. Just look at the top 4 they're batting: Xander Bogaerts, Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Nelson Cruz. Like these are all 4. I know Nelson Cruz is a little past his prime at this point, but like these are all 4 huge names, and they all showed up in every game this series. Like they beat up on young pitchers, and these are superstars. So like, yeah, they're top heavy. They're top heavy. Did what they needed to do against us. Yeah, it sucks we lost, and I think it's fair to be disappointed because I was too. Like, especially yesterday. Like, I wanted to tie the series up, and it sucked to watch, but I can't help but still be like, we're okay though. It's not,
Until you get to like June or July, then you're really like, oh, we can still turn this around. And like, we are off to a way better start than we have been like the last 4 or 5 years when we've won the division. So
and a World Series.
Yes. And it's not even about, it doesn't even matter how good you are right now either. Like we all know that. Yes, do we want to see a good baseball team perform? Absolutely. But is this something we should be worried about and stressed about? No.
Yeah. Things change, and you will see a different team by the end of the season too. So we have really good bones. Like the guys in the lineup are killers, and I expect to see good things going forward.
A lot of bones.
All right, so real quick, I'm going to give an injury update. Max Fried, he's on the 15-day IL with the hamstring strain. He's tossing. He threw off the mound today, and he's expected to be back at the beginning of next week. Kyle Wright, as I said, he's making his first start on Tuesday, supposedly. So hopefully we see that come to fruition. Michael Harris, so I think it was Friday, he got pulled from the game early because of back tightness after he like ran into a wall, I guess. So he got pulled from the game, and he's on a 10-day IL, so he should be back at the end of next week. And Travis d'Arnaud, really weird play at the plate where Odor like didn't slide, and it was a tough throw from Ozzy too to try to put the tag. Anyways, he got.
Was it a dirty play?
No, it wasn't. Not in my opinion.
I saw a lot of people on Twitter were very unhappy about it.
You're never going to be happy.
He's also known to be a dirty player.
Yeah, he's had his moments in his past. I won't disagree with that, but whenever your guy gets railroaded like that, you're going to be upset. But it was a pretty bang play, and it was a strange, awkward play, I would say too. I didn't really expect Ozzy to throw the ball to the plate there, but he did, and it was off target. And then Travis is reaching for the ball, and then he's reaching blindly back across the plate for a player he thinks is going to be sliding and isn't. And so that's where he got nailed a little bit. And it's also strange because he batted the next half inning. So Travis finished the inning, batted, and he hit a screamer to left field, and it looked like he was okay, but then he ended up getting pulled. So he's on the 7-day concussion IL, so we should see him back next week, though he has had issues with concussions in the past, so we'll see if that is actually the timeline we're looking at.
Murphy time.
Like I've said, all these are pretty short-term injuries, so we're pretty fortunate in that regard. It's early in the season, and we'll move past them. But yeah,
foreshadowed this poor weekend.
What's that?
The Freeze lost his first race of the season on the opening night. He lost opening night.
I didn't know that.
Dude,
that wasn't the real Freeze. I'm convinced that's like the backup Freeze. Like
backup.
The running form was different. It didn't look quite right. And I've seen the Freeze for years now, and maybe he retired. I don't know.
It was disappointing though for the Freeze to lose on opening night. I was like, that's not good.
If you guys got offered to do the race against the Freeze, would you do it?
Oh, yeah.
Blake would, Aaron wouldn't. I also wouldn't because I'm in awful shape.
I mean, I'm not going to win, but
if they're cool with me walking from the pole, then that's fine.
And the biggest victory in ever in Freeze history.
My strategy:
you act like you're about to sprint, and you just
Here's my strategy.
I'll start off. But
you pump the arms like you're running really fast, but you're actually moving pretty slow for the first half, and then you hear everybody scream when he takes off or whatever. Then you turn on the jets.
You're right, because he's thinking, you're not even that
this
fast.
guy's easy.
Yep.
Exactly. You basically do the whole move like when you're on a crosswalk and then a car comes up and like you don't actually move any faster, but you act like you do.
You look
out of
fast.
courtesy. Yeah. Hold on, I'm going. Yeah, no, just a second.
There's not a time that I didn't appreciate that move either, because I pull it all the time. I get it, but you show a little hustle, you show a little giddy up, respect for other people's time, kind of.
Right.
This reminds me of that. In high school,
at least I'm thinking about your time.
Yeah.
So in high school, I do weight training with a lot of the offensive linemen, and I'm a small guy. I never lift as much as them, but I'd always run with them. And the coach would get mad because they would call it the big boy shuffle, and they would just pump their arms, but they're like shuffling their feet. Like it looks like they're walking barely.
Oh yeah.
Coach would get so mad.
As an offensive lineman myself, yeah, the big boy shuffle is very real. I'm walking out there, and the coach knows it.
Yeah, but you look like you're.
Yeah.
Thought we
you
had
also kind of like get a little, you get a little hop too.
Yeah, it's like you're son, you're not even moving. And it's well, yeah, I am.
Like
we're all moving here.
Half of like rec league and high school, middle school sports is like pretending like you're doing the activity that you're supposed to be doing. It's like when you're doing 6 inches, which is when you're laying on your back and you lift your legs up 6 inches as like a core exercise. But really, you have to like have your heel barely on the ground on the foot that's opposite the coach.
Yeah, right.
And then you're kind of resting that leg, and you get a
this ab
breather.
workout. It's also why none of us had 6 packs. So.
Yep.
Well,
speak for yourself.
That's how we do things. All right, back to the Braves. Marcell Ozuna, as this episode is aptly named, the Ozuna problem. He is fucking killing us. He is just really bad, guys, and it's not gotten better. Everybody's hoping maybe he's going to turn it around this year, not because we want him to, because he's a piece of shit human too, but just for a little bit of productivity. He's our designated hitter, and he is currently 2 for 27 on the season, those 2 being solo home runs. He has 10 strikeouts and 2 ground into double plays. So he's causing a lot of outs, not just himself, but others.
I feel like he can't be good for like the team morale either. Like just after all it's gone through with him and the team and just him coming back and like, I mean, the MLB didn't help us at all by not suspending him.
And to that point, nobody in the clubhouse ever talks about Ozuna, you know, or as far as like, you know, like Acuna and Ozzy's friendship and, you know, people like just the way you hear about the team interacting. No one ever brings up Ozuna in any of those stories.
Yeah.
I feel like he's an outsider, like he's a pariah.
I think that's a PR thing on purpose because also their social media team, if they tweet anything like any video containing Marcell Ozuna like hitting a home run or anything, they don't put his name in the tweet.
True.
So I think it's a PR thing that it's team wide trying to not bring that up because you don't want the other players in that situation having to talk about something like that either that they're not familiar with or it's not something that not a situation they want to be in.
No. It's just the biggest sore of the whole organization.
And like from on the field perspective, he's slow, he can't field, he can't throw, and now he can't hit. And so it's a huge hole in our lineup, and it's an inning killer. It's an automatic out at this point.
Well, the worst part is like we have better options too at this point. So it's like the frustrating part is the only reason he's staying up with the major league team is because of the contract.
Right.
At the end of the day, like that's what it comes down to.
Exactly. So we owe him $32 million. That's why he's playing. And
this year, next year.
Yes, this year, next year, and then has a club option, which obviously we would not pick up. But it's frustrating for another reason because he's playing so much at the beginning of the year. Sean Murphy isn't getting consistent at bats, at least leading up to the Travis d'Arnaud injury. He will now as our backup catcher, or not really. He's our split time catcher, I suppose. But really, he and Travis d'Arnaud should be swapping out at DH. It shouldn't be Ozuna at all. And
with the exception of needing an off day, one of them should be the DH. One of them should be the catcher almost every.
It didn't stop them from making Wild Bill the DH last year. Like I don't understand what's the holdup this year.
Yeah. I don't know. And he's getting more time in left field than he should too. So it's tough to watch, and it's frustrating that it's still going on. It feels like since we gave him the contract, it's been 3 years of this productivity.
I feel like if anyone wants to sum up Marcell Ozuna for themselves, if you haven't seen some of the things maybe we're talking about, maybe you're less of a Braves fan and you're trying to get into it. I was recently reminded on TikTok, I think I sent it to both of you, of the play he made in left field when he played for St. Louis. A ball. It was a pop fly to the left field. He goes up, he jumps on the fence, jumps up on the fence, and he's hanging there like Spider-Man. And the ball falls probably 10 feet. It doesn't even make it to the warning track.
Yeah.
It lands in front of him, and he like falls off the fence.
Wasn't he hurt too? The other fielder had to come get it.
You have to pretend you're
actually
hurt.
Yeah, he pretended he hurt. He just sat there on the ground. And the best thing, they were playing the Dodgers. The Dodgers bullpen was right there on the other side of that fence. Every single one of them just starts cracking up laughing, dude.
Man.
He's just a joke. I mean,
He is a joke.
You don't see that in the majors every day. So
No.
yeah, I'm sure they got a good laugh out of everybody in that bullpen. And
Yes.
anybody else that watches it current day. Yeah, it's still funny. Seek that out if you haven't seen it.
Please do go look at it.
So my theory is we're trying to see if there's anything left in the tank. And he had a decent spring training, and it has not carried over at all. I think this might be the year we cut him. You know, I think it's been tough because Alex Anthopoulos is a prideful man, and he doesn't make many wrong moves. It feels like he's a puppet master. But this one, the string has been cut or loosened.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's not working anymore. We paid too much, and it's one of the bad contracts from AA's tenure. I'm not calling him out because I think he's amazing, and I wish we had him GMing every other Atlanta sport too.
Yeah.
But he's the best GM in baseball, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And,
The hard part.
I'm ready to say best GM in all of sport.
Yeah.
In America, I mean, and like, I'm glad you said cut there, Hayden, because I've seen a lot of people, even some of the people in our Discord, talking about like, we got to trade Ozuna. We have, and then mainly on Twitter, why haven't we traded Ozuna? Why haven't we traded?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you
can't.
give it a little more thought. Who is going to want that at that pay rate?
No.
Yeah.
I
no
mean,
one.
nobody.
No one.
Nobody wants them. It's like when people talk about global warming causing the seas to rise, and the people along the coastline are going to be affected by that. And they're like, it's not a big deal. They'll just sell their houses and move. Sell their houses to who?
Yeah.
All right, it's the same thing.
To move people.
Same thing that we see when we talk about the Hawks trades or Falcons trade. It's guys, there has to be a trade partner. I feel like this gets talked about so much.
Force somebody to take,
or it's like, oh, why didn't we just get that guy for that price? It's like, well, we probably offered him that deal and they didn't want to come here. Yeah, it's just all. So people forget it works two ways. All this stuff works two ways.
You guys remember
somebody to want it.
Maybe 10 years ago or almost 10 years ago now, we had the Upton brothers, one of which was really good, Justin Upton.
Justin was awesome.
The other of which, BJ, was not good at all. To get out from under that contract, we had to sell Craig Kimbrell, who was the best closer in baseball.
Yeah.
That's what it takes to get out from under a bad contract. That's why they're trying to tease out and see if he has anything left. And then we're not going to be able to trade him. If we do trade him, we're going to be trading him out of the division, like to make sure we don't have to deal with him.
Yeah.
But also we're going to have to pay considerable cash considerations to a team, basically paying his contract. Or we're still going to be paying his contract.
I'll say this, like, I don't think he hinders us from winning a World Series this year. Like, I don't think him being on the team, or even if we had to cut him, like, I don't think that's stop it. But I know AA, knowing him, like, he wishes he had that $16 million to play with. Because he's like, this team could be so much better. But here's the thing too, if you think about Ozuna and the production he had when he signed that contract, and if you just think about how it naturally might scale off, 16 million, even for like that Ozuna at this point in his life would have been definitely still worth the deal. Like, that's the hardest part about this, is sometimes you can't predict the off-field stuff that might lead to on-field issues and vice versa.
The guy was close to winning the Triple Crown in 2020, which is incredible.
Yeah,
and then he fell off a fucking cliff.
Holy hell.
So like, it's hard to predict that's going to happen. And then the off-the-field issues too. So anyways, because
who knows? You
can't
you see that in baseball, right? You see it in baseball all the time. People have slumps and they go back up, and like that could have always happened. But I just think similar to Tiger Woods situation, when stuff off the field starts to wrap into the field, it makes it where maybe you never come back to the person you were ever. And I think that's kind of what you see in Ozuna.
Yeah. Somebody that needs a fresh start. So we'll see how long he makes it. He's not in the starting lineup tonight, thank Christ. So I was excited to see that. Eli White's getting some run, and nice. Eddie Rosario's DHing tonight. So
I'm excited to see Eli White out there.
I am too. He's put up really good numbers in spring, and he's crushing it in AAA. So hopefully we continue to see that.
Hey, Kevin Pillar, what's his name? Kevin Pillar?
Pillar.
He actually got us a hit too the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Which was nice.
Kevin Pillar, I think, was part of one of the route of.
He picked up an RBI.
He did. He picked up an RBI in it. Yeah.
I think to tie the game or something in the game we won against the Padres.
I think so.
Friday.
Thursday.
Something like that. Yeah.
And he plays outfield, right?
Yeah. So he's a backup outfielder. He's a veteran guy.
I see him get some playtime. Yeah, I know he played with the Blue Jays for a while and some other teams.
Yeah, and so you also see Sam Hilliard. He's been getting run in center field with Michael Harris being out. So we have some outfield depth. That makes it more frustrating when Ozuna's doing absolutely nothing. It's like just put any of the other guys out there, and we're going to get a little bit more somebody that can make contact.
Give us some contact. Give us on base percentage.
It feels like he could almost be. Ozuna could be out there swinging with his eyes closed and have a better chance of hitting the ball.
I think so.
He may be better just not to swing.
Help.
Yeah. So before we move on, I have this question for you guys. If you could pull any Braves left fielder from the last 23 years, so back to 2000, to play on this team, who would it be? And they can't have the last name Jones. So Chipper did play.
Did you say out? Wait, no. Okay.
Left field.
We're trying to fill our current left field slot with any Braves outfielder from the last 23 years.
So
that's not Chipper Jones or Andrew Jones.
So I looked at he actually sent a helpful link in Discord if you want to look at it real quick.
Don't need to. Got it.
Nice. Well, so I will say just there's a couple of options you could definitely go with. Justin Upton being one of them.
Oh, you say yours. Don't rattle off ours.
Well, I was just going to give y'all some examples if you need some help.
Don't do that.
Do that at the end.
All right. So mine, after all this thought process, was Martin Prado, actually. And I went Martin Prado, the old Swiss Army knife, because one, he can do everything. Exactly. And so like if he's not platooning with Rosario, then let's put him somewhere else where we need help at. Like he can just play every position. He always hit for high average. He's a good. I mean, the team loved him the whole time he was here.
He was the glue of the rebuild teams, basically. He and Freddie, they were like our good players.
He was like wasn't he on the cusp of the good teams into the rebuild? Like he was like right there.
Yeah, maybe at the tail end of our success.
Yeah. So I would definitely go. Well, we try to jumpstart success right afterwards with the Upton brothers because he was before that because Justin took left field from him. But yeah, I'd go Martin Prado. I think there's a lot of good candidates out there, but he would be my one. He just adds so much utility.
I'm going to pick Adam Duvall.
Oh,
nice.
Shout out Adam Duvall, by the way. He was leading the league. I think in on base plus slugging and batting.
Why'd you say was, Hayden?
Because he broke his wrist last night. So tough, man. I feel bad for him.
Happening to him.
He can't stay healthy, but man, he's a slugger. I don't know if that's going to end his season or not. He's had issues with that wrist in the past as well.
Yeah, I read it could be like a month and a half, but because of his previous wrist issues, it could take even 2 months for him. So
maybe we see him back this year, but it's tough luck for that guy.
Maybe the Braves trade for him again.
Who would you throw in there? Aaron said Adam Duvall, so I'm going to go a little bit further back into the history of the Braves, back closer to 2000. Gary Sheffield.
Oh,
because he played for the Braves for 2 years. I think like 03, 04, maybe that range. But
did he go to the Yankees right after the Braves, or does he have another stop?
I think
did he play left field?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
He did. He played mostly right field, but he played both.
He could both. Okay, cool.
There's some other ones that were on the list too, like JD Drew's another good one. Like Jake said, Justin Upton.
Justin Upton.
Here's one, the one that came into my mind, and I didn't say him because I didn't know if he could play left. But man, one of my favorite names of all time. The dude was an absolute stud, leading us in. He was right at the beginning of the era we're currently in Braves baseball, and that's Nick Markakis. Huge Nick Markakis guy. He toiled for so long with the Orioles, and he came and had a lot of success here with the Braves as well. I really liked Markakis and right, but I don't know if he could play left. I'm sure he could play it. Obviously, I just don't know.
Nick Markakis out of Young Harris College, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that. I never knew that. Wow.
Some other options I thought were cool. I think Justin Upton's an obvious one. Like when he was a Brave, he was actually really good too. So he'd be a great. I think he'd fit really well with our current outfield. But someone else I thought would be fun was Matt Diaz. Bring him back, baby.
Oh,
bring him back. He was already a platoon guy. Bring him back. Let him go.
All right, let me throw one more name similar to those dudes. I loved this guy. I don't know why he came in. He had so much promise. I think he kind of fizzled out in his career. But you should both remember him. Hayden, I know you will. Jordan Schaefer.
Oh yeah, Jordan
Oh,
Schaefer. I
wow.
remember Jordan Schaefer.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
really,
Didn't he
really
play
like.
center field?
He played center
Yeah,
for
but
the
he could
Braves.
play.
Yeah,
He could easily
but
play
I'm pretty sure he was utilized in all three spots on the
Yeah.
outfield.
We also someone else too that we had for a little bit who did better not with us was Melky Cabrera. We had him, right?
Oh, the Milkman.
Yeah,
we
he went
had him
on
at
to
the
play
tail
better.
end of his
Yeah,
career.
he played better at other places, but
All right,
Melky's
gosh
another
dang it,
one.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Mark Kotze.
The old Katze.
I feel like we're just rattling off old
Yeah,
Braves now.
we're just
We've
saying
had
names.
good left fielders. What can I
But
say?
check out
Well, I
Baseball
think-
Reference if you ever like have any questions about historical teams or anything like that. It's really easy to see, and you can check the WAR and all that stuff
Nice.
really easily.
Cool.
I think JD Drew had the highest WAR as an outfielder that we had in that whole stretch, which is pretty incredible. But
Higher than Jones?
maybe I didn't look at Andrews too closely because I ruled him out.
You said you ruled him
But-
out.
you
Yeah,
can't. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
fair.
it's
Hayward
obvious.
Hayward had some pretty high WAR too during that time.
Yeah, early Hayward was really good. He's kind of had a renaissance this year in his
course he
career.
had.
Of course,
with the Dodgers.
Dodgers.
Oh, is he? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
He's like partnered
Yeah.
back up and practicing with Freddie, and he like found his swing again. He already has a couple home runs on the year too. So
Of course.
we could be using that productivity and his defensive acumen in left field instead of Marcelo Ozuna. But potato, potato. What are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
He probably wouldn't have come back for us anyways.
As Tony Soprano says, what you gonna do? All right. Are you guys ready to mosey on over to the ball that rolls around on the ground? You hit it with your foot, and then you hit it towards another guy. They hit it on their foot, and then it heads towards a netting situation, and then you try to make it past a guy with gloves and that kind of stuff.
American football.
I've never heard kickball.
That's what we're
described
talking
like
about
that.
here.
Yeah.
No, we're talking United.
Ooh,
I don't know if that was
Five
good or
stripes.
not. Yeah.
those were both really good. I'm impressed.
Hell yeah. Okay, so so United had a game against we played the other New York team. I don't know why they do that.
Probably the better one though, right? Or no?
Not right now.
That's fair.
They're both good teams. They're both very talented teams. But yeah, so NYCFC, we played them. It is weird. I do want to talk about like they group at least for us. I don't know how they do it for the rest of the league. They group together. Like when we play one New York team, you can be assured we're playing the next one.
I kind of like that.
We're playing the other one. But see, it makes sense a lot of times. Like there have been years where we've played them both as away games back to back.
Right.
And in those years, most of the time, the team will just stay in New York. And that makes sense.
Yep.
This time, we played Red Bulls in
Oh, no.
Atlanta, and then we played New York City FC in New York. So, whatever, in that joke of a stadium that is Yankee Stadium. So, anyway, Hayden, it looks like you're about to.
I have a question for you. Why do some soccer teams have like a team name or like a mascot, I guess, and then others are just like FC football club?
Yeah, so it is interesting. It's something they do in Europe and I don't know exactly what the historical like relevance of it is, or where it came about. But some team, like not all of them, like you said, have nicknames. Whereas like here in American sports, you have to have it. It's literally you are the city name and then nickname, right? You are the city.
Well, we tried watching a football team for a little bit, but
I actually
they had to
kind
go
of like that
Commanders.
one.
I did too. Bring it
Yeah, but
back.
it was okay. Anyway, but then you've got teams that'll have extra nicknames too. So I want to put one team that's one of my favorite examples of this. Wolverhampton. So Wolverhampton is of course a small town.
The FC.
Yeah, I think they're I think they're Wolverhampton FC, but that's not the point. They are the Wolverhampton Wanderers. Okay, that is their name.
Wolves.
Well, here's the point. Everyone calls them Wolves.
Everyone calls them Wolves.
And their logo is a wolf's head. But they're the Wanderers. But everyone calls them Wolves. It's funny because if you go look at the Premier League table, it doesn't even say Wolverhampton. It just says Wolves. They're known as Wolves, but they're
They
the
just
Wanderers.
didn't want to type it all the way out there.
No.
My favorite thing about the Major League Soccer is that they started off with doing the team names like, oh, Seattle Sounders, New York Red Bulls. And then as new teams join, they're like, all right, Football Club United.
Yeah,
You know what I
all
mean?
right,
Like
yeah,
they
yeah,
just like all went to,
But at least though, those teams will have, I don't know what New York
or
City
Five
FC's
Stripes
is,
is
but
like our other.
that's what I'm saying. Most teams will at least have some sort of nickname given to them by the fans or that they choose
Yeah,
themselves that
which I like
necessarily
that.
isn't official.
Yeah.
So and then you've got teams like this. We'll wrap that part of or this part of that up with this name. One of my favorite names in all of world soccer. They're a pretty good side in the Scottish Premiership. Not Premier League. They want to differentiate themselves a little bit. They're the Premiership. And you would just see them as Inverness. And of course, they're located in the town of Inverness. And yet
Naturally.
their full club name is Inverness Caledonian Thistle.
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Thistles.
Inverness Caledonian. No, Blake, the Caledonian Thistles.
Oh,
all right. So I looked it up. I'm like, what does this actually mean? Yeah, a Caledonian thistle is just a plant that grows in Scotland. So hey, you know what? That some teams just get named whatever. So hey, I'm not sure that actually answered your question. I'm not sure I actually know the answer as to why they do that.
No one will ever know, Hayden.
Yeah, but
And
it's
that's
just
one of
soccer.
the mysteries of the beautiful game.
Yeah, it's just
All
soccer
right.
being soccer.
All right.
Yeah.
So to
Sorry
the game
to
though.
derail you there. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So coming off of our first ever regular season win against New York Red Bull, we, like I said, travel to Yankee Stadium and play on the smallest pitch in the world, and that's not a joke. It is smallest professional pitch in the world, and we're looking for our first regular season win at New York City or at Yankee Stadium because that also hadn't happened. These are two teams, the New York teams that we've really struggled with, and that's probably because they're almost always good.
Yeah.
But this one was looking very promising. I'll go ahead and say it. Maybe the whole game. This might have been our most crisp and, as far as the technical side of things, our best performance all year, which I know is a weird thing to say coming off a 1-1 draw. But
one of the better teams we played all year too, though.
Oh yeah, exactly. So the team looked really good. We dominated the first half. So many chances, and wouldn't you know it, Thiago Almada created the majority of those. So I said in Blursed of the Week that Yorgos had a terrible game, one of the worst games I've ever seen a striker have, and we want to pinpoint the first example of that, where we had a free kick in New York City's half, and it was a long free kick, but Thiago Almada's on the other end of the ball. So we set up, not that he was, going at goal, but this was clearly going to be hit into the box looking for somebody on the other end of it, right? And New York played a suspiciously high line, something that I thought Atlanta could take advantage of. They did just that. The ball falls directly at the feet of Yorgos, a wide open, seemingly unmarked Yorgos Giacomakis. And he does, I'm not sure what he was thinking, because it didn't look upon replay that he slipped, but he slides. Blake, I know you know, Hayden, I'm certain you've seen it before, that when a center back is trying to cut off a pass or he's trying to cut off a shot, and he kind of slides in and scoops his body around to kick the ball away from goal, That's what Yorgos did. He looked like a center back. The announcers on the call even pointed it out that was kind of perfect technique if he played for New York City. It was so weird. I don't exactly
like a brain
know.
fart, just
I think yeah, it's like a weird. I'm sure he didn't mean to do it. I'm sure the ball maybe just hit a different way. I'm not down there looking at it through his eyes.
Right.
But man, did it? I mean, and you should have scored. That should have been 1-0 Atlanta, and that came in the 10th minute. So yeah, and it was just missed opportunity after missed opportunity for Atlanta. Derek Etienne, he kept finding himself wide open. Almada was hitting him over the top with beautiful passes that fell right at his feet. I think I counted 3 times in the first half. Derek Etienne got the ball, and the only person in front of him was the goalkeeper. He was literally in on goal, as they say. And every single time he lost the ball.
Young guy.
And the announcer, he's not a young guy, he's a veteran. Derek Etienne is
try to give him a call.
Yeah, no. This is a person he's played a lot of soccer in MLS. And the announcers kept saying, like, oh, Derek Etienne looks dangerous. They got to keep giving him the ball. And I'm thinking, no, he does not look dangerous. There's a reason New York is leaving him wide open on that side of the field. Okay. It's because every time he gets the ball, he shits his pants. I don't really know what's going on. I'd like to see his expected goals. I should have looked that up for this, but I didn't. So yeah, that was extremely frustrating. The frustration started to build. You could tell. But the midfield, like I said, they continued to look crisp, led by Almada. The back line was phenomenal. New York had close to no chances in the first half. So a lot of things to be proud of from this game. The second half continued the same way until disaster struck. And that was in the form of a red card for Franco Ibarra, who up until that point had a perfect game. I would have rated him a 10 out of 10. He was stealing. He was dispossessing people in the midfield. He was leading breaks on the other end. The kid looked good, and he's looked good all year. But
red cards are bad.
Red cards are real bad. It was a straight red too. He didn't get a yellow prior to.
Don't pass go. Don't collect $200.
Here's the weird part about it, and a lot of people agreed on. I've seen a ton of people agree on Twitter that aren't even Atlanta United fans. If you go look at the play, it was very weird. The ball careened off another player that Ibarra wasn't even covering, and both Ibarra and the guy next to him, they both kind of like jumped at the ball. It was kind of weird. They, like a jump step, kind of. Right. It was kind of like that. And then both players, cleats up, hit each other's ankles. Okay. Ibarra makes contact first.
So mutual destruction.
Yes. And both players fall down in a heap and do the soccer player thing where they roll around and hold their leg. And
that's why there was 30 minutes of stoppage time at the end.
Yeah, right. Exactly. There was 10 minutes.
A whole second game.
To be fair, yeah, there was 10 minutes.
That is a lot.
To your point, Aiden, yeah. Let's double what you normally see, if that, perhaps more. But anyway, yeah. So the announcers themselves were saying, it goes to VAR. VAR is reviewing it, and it seemed to be consensus, at least with the broadcast team and myself, that we were going to see a double red. That both players were going to get sent off because the rule is
they're dangerous
soccer,
play. Yeah,
you can't go studs up. Right. You can't dive at someone's ankle or leg or any part of their body with the studs of your cleats pointing at them, right? Which makes sense. It's not a nice thing to do. So they both did it, and yet the only thing I can think of is because our guy made contact with the other one first, like a split second beforehand. We got the red card, and their player didn't even get a yellow.
Dude, and I just comment on that, and I think this happens in a lot of sports, is like replay can be so beneficial, but a bang play like that, you can't decide, oh, well, in slow motion, he hit a half a millisecond before the other guy, because that's just timing at the end of the day. Like, then you're just, I don't know, I feel like then you're losing the purpose of the game because they are hitting live speed.
Your point you're making is beautiful, Blake, because guess what? In the moment, and and after everything happened, the referee did not reach for his pocket at all. He wasn't going to give a card to anyone. And then all of a sudden, he gets hailed over to the side by the VAR official. Yeah. And sure enough, as soon as he does, he turns around, boop, just like Blake did, and goes over and watches it. And they tell him that
not this.
Yeah, not that. But a big rectangle.
Not a square either, though.
No, not a square. So it's got to be a rectangle. So anyway, so he comes back, boom, initially gives it to Franco Ibarra. Oh, actually, hold on. This really, really pissed me off in the moment.
I was like, how mad were you when this happened?
So mad. I can laugh about it now, but you want to talk about my frustrations coming to a boil. So in this sequence, when it became clear to Gonzalo Pineda that one of our guys was going to get a red card.
Red card, yeah.
He goes to sub on Mateus Rossetto. And while Pineda and Rossetto are standing over there by the side judge waiting for him to get subbed on. The referee blows his whistle that the VAR check is complete and that Ibarra is going to get a red card. He pulls the card out of his pocket. He walks over to the sideline and shows the red card to Mateus Rossetto, the person who has not even checked into the game yet. And so, of course, the entire Atlanta sideline, Rossetto included, Pineda loses his mind. He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean?" He thought maybe he was being shown a red.
Right.
And then the ref points it at Rossetto. He's like, no, the player. And he's like, he's not even in the game. You could see him point to him like, he's standing over here with me.
Because at this point, he doesn't think there's gonna be a red card at all. Probably.
Well, no. I think Pineda had
knew
because it was a bad challenge. Yeah. I want to be clear. I'm not sitting here saying that he shouldn't have got a red because
I understand that. Yeah,
but they both should have got a red.
Yeah, the way they did
is what
it.
I'm saying. So anyway, so there's a big hubbub about that, and the ref realizes his mistake, walks over to Franco Ibarra, and then shows him the red. And I'm like, you weren't going to give either player a card to begin with, one. And two, now that you're told to give him a card, you don't even know who it was.
Yeah, the ref doesn't even have no idea.
Yeah, you can't even figure out which one it is. So I think if there's any proof, yeah, you could write that off as a boneheaded mistake by the ref, or maybe a little. I mean, I don't know. If it were me, I might twist the knife a little more if I was Pineda and be like, oh, what about Mateus Rossetto and Franco Ibarra makes that you can't tell them apart, ref?
Right. Oh, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I might take it that way.
Maybe he should have just let the guy that was getting subbed into the game get the red card, and he's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, just keep.
And then now we get to keep 11 on the field.
It's a great point.
Yeah, just stay there.
So anyway, that was a very frustrating thing. Now, if you've noticed, I haven't talked about any goals. That's because up until this point there hadn't been any. It's 0-0. Huge credit to the team. I said that Yorgos Giacomakis played his worst half of football in that first half, and he did. However, the boys fought back. I don't know if they were enraged by us being the only team that got the red, but credit to Pineda, credit to the boys. They fought hard, and being down 10 men, not 10 minutes later, we scored the first goal of the game and went up 1-0. And it was Yorgos Giacomakis himself, as I said back in the beginning of the pod. It was a beautiful play. Guess who assisted it? Can you guys guess?
As Almada.
Yeah, it was Thiago Almada.
And you know what? Something. History was also made on this goal too, right? He became the first player ever to score in each of their first 3 starts for Atlanta United.
Yeah,
which is really, really cool.
It is cool. It is cool,
and that's a fun fact.
Yes, that is a fun fact. Fun fact from Blake there. So yeah, and that goes back to what I was saying in the Blursed of the Week is that if you just look at the box score or if you listen to 99 the game, you're going to think that Yorgos Giacomakis had a great game, and he didn't. But I do want to give him a shout out as far as that's concerned because it's always nice to see somebody net a goal. You could tell that it bothered him.
Even when he's playing poorly, he's able to net a goal. Yeah.
And he gets a beautiful header that hit on the bottom side of the crossbar and bounced in underneath the goalkeeper's shoulder. And like I said, it was off of a corner kick by Almada. And just a beautiful team goal. Now,
Hayden, you know the most dangerous time in soccer is right after a team has scored.
Yes.
Just, if you didn't know that, if you weren't aware.
Yeah, if you didn't know.
Well, within the first 2 minutes, right? Is that what it is?
After a goal, the very next possession is normally when it's. But I mean, that's that's every sport though. The defense is most except for baseball, but defense is most vulnerable.
In the beginning of a drive,
after either a turnover or the other team scoring.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like in football, the mantra would be after a turnover. That's more so because you got the kickoff and everything after that. Anyway, so in soccer, that is when you're most vulnerable right there. You're all hyped up. You just got done celebrating for 15 minutes because they do that. And Now, that being said, the goal that New York City scored was not that type of goal, though. It was not a defensive letdown per se from a 10-minute Atlanta team. They hit a worldie from outside the box. I don't know. It was nothing Brad Guzan could do from the right side going left top corner. It was probably a 20-25 yard shot that just curled right in. Sometimes you just got to tip your cap.
Tip the cap. It was 2 minutes too after the goal.
It was at 2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah, it was 2 minutes. Like it was within the first, but like you said, it wasn't because of a letdown. Because typically that's what happens. So typically it's a letdown. Yeah.
And I guess you can make the argument we should have closed the gap and not let him create so much space. But again, you're down a man.
You don't expect bangers.
Well, and sometimes. Guess who the man, what position Franco Ibarra plays? That's right, folks. Central defensive midfielder.
Right where that was.
The center part of the defensive midfield is where that shot was taken from. So,
you would think that being a man down and you're in the second half.
And
would we have wrote? Yeah,
you're winning.
You're up. Maybe rotate somebody down or back from.
They had done that.
Position.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So they did, and that's a good
Just not as
question.
skillful,
So
maybe.
that's why Mateus. Well, it's because we don't the guy that Franco Ibarra has actually been playing in place of, Santiago Sosa. He's had a rough go of it to start this year.
He did come in though.
Yeah,
right?
he came in after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Santiago Sosa comes in, but he's had a rough go of it for a few reasons. I can't remember. Oh, it was like it wasn't talked about very much. I think it was like maybe a PED situation. He tested positive for something, but Santiago Sosa was actually suspended for the first 5 games of this year.
That explains it. Okay.
And Franco Ibarra played so well in his absence that he won that starting job. So Santiago Sosa's not had a lot of time on the field
Out of
since
form.
coming back. Yeah, he's out of form. So, but yes, Hayden, to your point, you don't just when somebody gets a red card, you don't just leave the formation as it is. You move people around and try to cover
they
gaps.
subbed out Derek Etienne and
Okay.
also Sejic. How do you say his name? Sejic? Amar
Sadic. Yes.
Sadic. I
He
mean,
did what to
I
the
always
dick?
get
right.
the European names get me. Yeah, Sadic. Amar
They do,
Sadic.
don't they?
So they both came out and they did more of a defensive set.
So strategically, we were there, but just execution, they really just hit a banger.
Yeah.
They did. And so the game, after that, it was a defensive game going forward. One guy I've been talking about on the pod for the past few weeks, our designated player that has yet to step on the field, finally stepped on the field. Gonzalo Pineda subbed him in, I think, with like 5 or 10 minutes left to go.
Oh, Luis Abram?
Yeah, Luis Abram.
Hey, wait till stoppage time. I was like, what's even the point? I don't know.
And so, but he's a center back. So we had 3 center backs.
3 center backs? That's pretty smart. That is smart, though. I guess the point was, let's take our striker off the field, bring it all back, let's park the bus. But also, like, I would like to see Luis play a little bit more.
Exactly. I don't know what the plan with him is. I really wish I did. And Gonzalo Pineda's had a fantastic start to the year. I can't poke too many holes in what he's done, but that one leaves me scratching my head.
And I think the point too you can make, and we can talk about this in a lot of sports, is that even when a coach is doing like all the right things, and maybe you don't always get the outcomes you want, especially in a 1-1 tie, but like there's always something else you could point out, like, well, why aren't we doing that? And you could say the same thing when you look at the Braves, when you look at
I can't talk to Gonzalo Pineda directly, not yet, not until the pod gets a little more traction. And so
we can,
if he's still the coach by then, and which hopefully he is.
He will be.
Yeah, thank you, Hayden. There you go. All right, so and I'm assuming that was a vote of confidence for us, and not Gonzalo Pineda.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, I'm not saying I'm upset by it because Juanjo has played great. We all love Juanjo. And Miles Robinson, of course, is the best center back in the league. And so their pairing has worked really well. And I'm not unhappy with that, right? And if he wants to play a back 4 and not a back 5, then you roll with what's working, and those two are working. So I'm fine with it. I'm just curious about it. We
put a lot of money, it's a big ticket roster spot too. So
exactly. Yeah.
We're about an hour in, guys. You want to put a bow on United here for us?
I do. Yeah. That's pretty much the game. So we're looking forward to next week. We're going up to Canada to play Toronto. So we'll see. We've already played them once, so we'll see if we can get a dub against them up there. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for United. The boys are rolling. We're at 3rd in the East. So let's hope
good position.
Good. Yeah, very good. So let's hope they keep it rolling.
Most dangerous position you can be on the board. So I hear. All right. Let's
go.
Let's talk about the ball that is round, orange, a lot of lines on there. You bounce it with your hand and you try to make it in a net, like through a hoop. That's basketball.
Oh,
Hawks.
I was thinking highlight.
Oh. All right, everybody. So the Hawks finished the year 41-41. This, I'll be honest, this is one that we said in the beginning, you should hit the over. The Hawks will win 45 games this year. We were wrong. And that's my fault. I'll take full credit for that. We've had a lot of great bet props we've said to do, and that you would have got money on. This would be one you wouldn't have. So hopefully you didn't listen to us.
You're right there.
We were 4 games. I mean, we're historically mediocre. So what can I say?
We needed Nate to be let go sooner, is what it
Yes,
seems
I think it would have worked out, honestly. But something I do want to point out is that the Hawks finished 41-41, which was good enough for the 8th seed in the East. And it would have actually been the 10th seed in the West, But to that point, the West, I just want to go over the standings real quick. The West standings, the Nuggets finished first, Grizzlies second, Kings third. The Suns are the fourth best team in the West, and they finished 45-37. I want to point that out because it's only 4 games better than us wins wise, and 45-37 would have been the 7th seed for the East. So we're playing in a much better division this year than the West, which is like contrary to how it's been recently. The East was had the better teams, honestly. The West has the Utah Jazz, and you have a bunch of teams that are trying to figure out whether they can be contenders or not. Where the East have the Bucks, the Celtics, and the 76ers. I would say the Cavs and the Knicks are a little bit below that, and everyone else is also trying to figure out jockey a little bit. So what I'm trying to say is there was actually a lot of parity this year in the NBA, way more than usual. There were no 60-win teams on either side. The Bucks won the most games at 58. And there's only 2 50-win teams in the West. So it was just a weird season. This doesn't normally happen. And so we talked about this beginning of the year that unless you're a 1, 2, or 3 seed in the NBA, you don't typically win an NBA championship. This year, it could be one of those years where one of those seeds win an NBA championship that's not a 1, 2, or 3 seed. I'm not here to say the Hawks will be that team. I'm just saying one of the teams could. Why not the Hawks? That'd be cool. I just want to put this out there. The optimistic person I am, I have no hope for us getting out of the first round. I'm just going to be blunt,
but
honest.
We've just lost our last game of the season, so we probably will win a play-in game, right?
No, yes, I do believe we make it out of the play-in tournament. So our first game is tomorrow night, or when you're listening to this, tonight, Tuesday. We will be playing the Miami Heat in Miami.
In it. Go Blake, go.
We were 1-3 against Miami this year, and they also are the team that did they sweep us last year? Or gentlemen sweep us out of the playoffs.
It was a gentleman sweep, I think.
Yeah, I think we got one because DeAndre Hunter went off one game or something like that.
Yeah,
but
he went off in the game we lost.
That's right, the last game
closed out the series.
Closed out the series.
I still think it was 4-1 though.
Let me check real quick. 2022.
Well, I'm not sure it matters too much, but yeah,
you're right. I will say this, that the Hawks were embarrassed last year. Let's just say that. They were literally embarrassed by the Heat.
They literally got ran off the court. It was bad.
And let me say this too about the Heat. The Heat were a great team last year. They were the number 1 seed out of the East. Like it was going to be hard to play them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But they did a great job stopping Trey, and 2, none of our other players could make a shot. Like if any of our players, if you rewatch the series, because I've been going through, I don't have time to watch it as much as I would like to, but I read a bunch of people on Twitter who take the time to watch all these games back. A lot of people were saying last year had a lot of open shots. We just couldn't make the shots, which could have changed the series a little bit. I don't think we beat them, but would have looked a little bit better. And so this year we got DeJounte Murray, DJM. We have Trae Young. We should theoretically be better against the Heat's press. The Heat this year also are a much worse team. So I have the standings up here in front of me. They are the 9th best defense, which last year I'm pretty sure they were top 5. And this year they are the 25th best offense. Way worse than last year. Way worse. They do have Jimmy Bucket still. Jimmy Butler is a star. They got Hero who can shoot threes. Bama Adebayo, he's a great player too. But besides that, their supporting cast is really bad.
And Udonis Haslem, right?
Yeah, Udonis Haslem. He actually scored 24 points in his last
That's crazy
game.
He will play. I'm convinced he'll play for the Heat for his entire life.
Well, no, I think this is last year. I think he actually is retiring this year.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
You sure about that? I'm not. I'm not sure about that, but we're all looking for the same guy here.
Yeah, right.
If you haven't watched that, look up the hot dog.
Yes,
man.
Hot dog look up. No, just go to Google and type in the hot dog man.
You might find it.
I would love.
Turn off Say Search first, though.
Yeah.
Go to incognito.
With all this said, the Hawks finished the season with the 7th best offensive rating. We were the 22nd best defensive rating, which is not as bad as I thought it would be. Still not great. And net rating, it's bad. We were the 19th best net rating. So that's really nowhere near the top, but we've gone over. I went over this at least in the Discord. So if you're in the Discord, get on here. We love talking hoops in here, especially with other hoop heads.
Discord.io/Blursed.
Yeah, it's much different talking to hoop heads than it is talking to people who are casual basketball watchers, because you actually have to, like, there's more to the game than just watching the box score every day. And like, also like DeAndre Hunter, for example, there's a lot of Hawks fans who are not happy. Like, oh, you pay him $90 million. Like he should be better than he is. And yes, there's stuff that he should improve, but there's a lot of stuff that he does that don't go on the stats. There's a lot of things he does as a defender that aren't going to be on the box score at the end of the night that you get to appreciate from watching the game. But I wanted to point out that the Hawks, since Quinn has taken over, because we had this discussion in the Discord recently, because Anthony was bringing up a lot of good points, and he's not completely sold on Quinn being our coach, which is fair. It's fine. I'm not going to argue with that. But since Quinn has taken over, we have actually been the third best offense in the NBA. And we finished 7th according to the whole year, but we've been the third best. And our net rating has been positive since Quinn's taken over. So, I mean, we've gone in the right direction. I think what's going to happen in this series against the Heat is I think we have a chance to win it. I don't think we do. I don't know if we beat them or not. I would say it's a 50-50 shot. I think we're a 5.5 point underdog. But if we can just make shots, you're going to beat this Heat. This Heat team doesn't have, they're out physical. They're going to try to out physical us. I understand. I see what you're saying there, Hayden, but it's a big deal. If you can make the 3, you're going to win this game. If we're cold from 3, we're going to lose. We're not going to out physical the Heat. We can't beat them in the paint.
Baby. Make those shots. Make those buckets.
Make the shots. I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to make your shots when you have them. You shoot if you're open. Let me make sure I'm hitting on everything on the Hawks. The playing outlook. If we don't beat the Heat in this first game, we're going to have to play the winner of the loser of the Raptors Bulls game. We're better than both of those teams. Can we lose? Yes, because we're the Hawks and we went 41-41 this year, but we should be a favorite to beat either of those teams.
So Blake, I got a question. Is the best we can do be the 8 or could we be the 7?
We can be the 7th. So if we beat the Heat tomorrow or tonight, listening to this, we beat the Heat tonight, we'll be the 7th seed and we'll play the Celtics.
So that's it. Like it's a one game.
Yep, one game. Yep, cool. You're in. If we lose, we'll play the loser of the 9-10 game.
For the 8 seed.
No, I'm sorry. We play the winner of the 9-10 game for the 8 seed. Yeah, the winner. So whoever wins between the Raptors Bulls will play us for the 8th seed. And here's a question I have for y'all. This is just a question about the current NBA playoffs. Who would you rather play, Boston Celtics or Milwaukee Bucks? And I'll give my answer first and y'all can chime in a little bit. I personally would like to beat the Heat just to get that monkey off our back. And I think it would be cool to go be the 7th seed, improvement from last year. But I actually think we match up worse against the Celtics, who are the 2 seed, who we have to play first round.
I'm glad you said that because my answer was it felt weird thinking about it. I was gonna say the Bucks. I think we match up better with the Bucks.
We do.
Are the Bucks the 1 seed?
The Bucks are the 1 seed. They kind of stole the 1 seed from the Celtics at the end of the season. They didn't steal it. They earned it. But it was back and forth between them all year. The Celtics were actually the 1 seed for most of the year. But I'll be honest, we match up together against the Bucks. The Celtics just they're deep. 1 through 10. They're just as deep as we are. Because one thing that we have on the Bucks is I think our bench is better than the Bucks. I mean, they've been saying in NBA circles that the Hawks have had the best bench unit since Quinn's taken over. At a net rating standpoint, we've had literally the best bench unit, and it's actually been our starters who have let us down to end every game recently in all of our losses. But I just think when you're trying to match up, it sucks to play the best team, the 1 seed. But if you're looking at where we're good and where they're not good, the Bucks are the better matchup for us. Do I think we beat the Bucks? Probably not. But do we have a better chance of a competitive series? Absolutely.
I'll play devil's advocate. So the Celtics, they faltered here at the end of the season to fall to the number 2 seed, right?
They faltered in the middle of the season. They've actually they're 8-2 in their last 10 games, including beating the Bucks by 30 points.
You're making this harder for me. This is expected to be Jaylen Brown's last season, right? With the
Could
Celtics.
Be.
Going out on a low, getting out of town.
Yeah,
doesn't like Boston anymore.
And I'll say this too: when we played the Celtics during the season, they were missing Rob Williams, who's their big power forward center guy. And I actually think if he plays, it's better for us because we have good bigs. When they don't play him, they play more of a small ball lineup, which kills us. We don't have the defense we need to attack on the edge. They shoot the Celtics are a team that live and die by the 3-pointer, like the 3-point line. We suck at guarding the 3-point line. So it just matchup wise, you're going to, even a bad shooting Celtics team might shoot really well against the Hawks because we're just not good at guarding the 3. Whereas the Bucks, they have people that can make the 3, but that's not their strong suit. And we played them really well the year they won the championship. And there's a lot of arguments that can be said if Trey doesn't trip on the ref, who knows, maybe we go to the NBA.
I think that team,
I think we had their number that year. And these are different teams years apart. I think the Bucks are a much better team this year than they were that year. And I think the Hawks are actually, even our record doesn't say it, we're a better team this year than we were. The Hawks are more
talented with the exception of losing Herter.
Yes, yeah, we do miss Herder, and
God,
I agree with that.
So much.
But yeah, so if you're a hoop head, please join the Discord. Again, Blur Sports Atlanta is our Discord, but also
Discord.io/Blursport.
There it is.
There it is.
But also a question I have for y'all, because I really liked how we did this hot take question at the end of the last episode, and I think we should get more into it. And I really liked your left field one, Hayden. And so mine for the Hawks is going to be this. There's been a lot of talks in the old media again. I hate that.
Hawks talks?
A lot of Hawk talk. And it's not really Hawk talk. It's all Trae Young talk. And it's, Trae Young trade rumors are coming up again. There's a lot of things I hate about this. One, no smart team trades away their best player especially when you fire
Especially
coach
right now.
And here's one thing for me. You don't fire your coach midseason and hire the best remaining coach who fits Trae Young's play style during the season just to then trade your best player right after the season. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. However, though, it's coming up again. I also want to say this. I don't think Trae's leaving Atlanta unless he asks out. Like, I think that's how he'll get out of Atlanta. Unless this next year is just another train wreck of a year, and then Atlanta would.
We should just hold him hostage, honestly.
You will never leave.
We will not get that caliber superstar back for.
It's hard.
Years.
Yes. No, you're 100% right.
That's a good point.
But to that point, what would it take for you to be okay with the Hawks trading away Trae Young? And I'm not saying success wise. I'm saying what offer would you have to get for you to be okay with the Hawks trading away Trae Young? And I want to start with Hayden.
I want a top 3 lottery pick, which is as close to a sure thing as you can get with NBA draft picks. And I also want a top 5 point guard.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I could say. I mean, I like what Hayden said, but it's like the value I would need back for Trae would be a value no one would be willing to give. Like, I'm going to need, like, if I lose Trae, like Hayden said, I'm going to need a top 3 pick unprotected.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Unprotected for sure.
You're waiting. You're basically waiting until the draft night to make this trade because you're like, I need that top pick because you need a certain player in mind if you're making that trade. You're like, well,
and then I also, because that pick is for Trae replacement for the most part, probably.
Well, and DJ Ince can play point guard. So
true.
He could be your starting point guard, which is.
But I would need like a caliber of player close to. I mean, I get it. You don't get Trae in return for Trae. I understand that. But I would need something like
Gobert got 5 first-round picks, for example.
Yeah. So either a haul bigger than that if you're going only draft capital.
100%. Yeah.
Or if you're getting a player back, I'm going to need either just like 5 starting caliber players or one dude that is like going to be a star, you know what I mean? Like somebody like Anthony Edwards, maybe.
Right.
But I would need somebody like that back.
Yeah, and we're giving hypotheticals, guys. None of us want to trade Trae. We are all intelligent basketball fans here and know that the Hawks will be set back big time for trading
Speak
Trae.
for yourself.
Well, you're intelligent when it comes to like roster creation and assets, and when it comes to sports.
I think there's a comma that we need to delineate. We are intelligent.
Yes. There we go.
Basketball fans.
Yeah, there we go. We go. I like that.
So there we are.
And I think y'all both make great points. I think the problem with trading Trae is you would never, like you said, Aaron, you'd never get what you think was fair because even in Gobert situation, like, I mean, if you're a Utah fan, you're thrilled. You got 5 first rounds for Gobert. No, Gobert is not going to win you a championship. He's also not a fun player to watch. Like, he's just not fun to watch play basketball. Like Trae Young,
he's not a good person, I don't think either. He punched his teammate recently, and he gave the whole
French, right?
COVID.
Yeah.
yeah. And we like Blursed listeners that are French, but all the rest of them, I was kidding. But no, like to your point, like I don't know how with Trae, for example, how you're going to get a package back that makes you feel comfortable, unless like here's the thing, you'd want maybe the first pick of the draft next year, so you go get Victor Wembanyama. But then the person who's trading you Victor Wembanyama is not going to trade that for Trae Young because Victor Wembanyama's ceiling's potentially at this point higher than what you think Trae Young's ceiling might be. One, because Victor Wembanyama is a 7-footer who can dribble like he's a point guard. So
like the ceiling for Wembanyama is like LeBron and KD.
Exactly. And Trae's just not there. And well, part of it, a lot of it has to do with height, which I'm sorry, Trae, like you're 6'1". It is the sad truth of his peak in some ways. It's just harder to carry your team at that height.
It's funny we said all that shit talk about French people when Victor Wembanyama
is French.
French.
Yeah. And he's a French person I would trade Trae Young for, maybe, potentially. I don't know. But so I think I'm agree with you. If we were to trade Trae, it would take, I want every other pick you can give me from here on until as far as you can go. So like I don't know how many that is. Like if 5 for Gobert, give me 6, 7, 8. Like I don't know how many first rounds I need, but
and just
I need all those.
I'd be throwing in crazy prop shit too. Like I watched Moneyball recently, and I think Billy Bean made a trade where, I think Billy Bean made a trade, and he calls the guy back, and he was like, okay, this, and that, and he was like, also, I want you to stock my drink machines for the next 3 years.
Yes, exactly. Stuff like that. Give me things like that. Give me Lauri Markkanen and give me your other 4 picks you got for Gobert, please, and Walker Kessler as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't even know. Like that's the thing.
And your head coach. I'm gonna fire him immediately, but I just don't want you to have him.
I don't want you to have him. Yeah. Yeah. Like I that's what it would take. It would take something asinine, something absolutely crazy for me to want to trade Trae.
Yeah. No, it's just not happening.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
Unless, like you said, unless Trae finally gets fed up and says, I'm out.
Yeah, he wants out. Or the worst case scenario happens next year and we finish like out of the play-in next year. Like, I think even if we finish in play-in next year, it's a disappointment. We better finish 5 or higher next year. Or
it absolutely is because of what we said this year. This year has been way back when we 3 gave our predictions.
We said like 5, right?
Our expectations. Yeah, we said anything below 5 is like Nate should get fired, and that's what happened.
That's what happened.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's real bad.
So I would say I'm calling it now, and I don't even know what the roster is going to look like, but 5th seed or better is the goal for next year, or we should trade Trae probably at that point because like we're doing it wrong, and it's not even Trae's fault. I want to say this too, like the Hawks organization is just horribly ran, and hopefully they figure it out, but man, it's bad.
Pencil it in, folks. Wrestler. 5th seed next year for sure. Lock it in.
Yeah, go ahead and make those bets now.
All right, let's toss it over to this sport. It's played with a pigskin. It's kind of like oval shape, little points at the end. They toss it. It's more of a spiral.
Falcons.
Ever heard of it?
No, I've never heard of the Falcons.
Weirdly, also called football. Probably shouldn't be. But let's hit it.
It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, as you all know, we're in April. We're talking draft talk. The draft is literally weeks away. We're so close. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
This week we're gonna be talking about the 8th pick. I'm gonna give you guys some options, and I just want to hear your take. Like we're just gonna talk all things 8th pick. Anything that comes to your head, let me know. Like just a free flowing conversation.
So I wanted to ask Blake real quick last week we talked 8th pick, of course, but you said this week but that was like a real world, right?
Last week I just wanted your gut. What do you got 8th pick? This week I wanted to let's explore a lot of different possibilities because we don't know what's going to happen before us in the draft. We are the 8th pick. I have some, if you pull up the doc that we used last week, I do have mock drafts in there if you want to take a look at them. I just wanted to have a bunch of different examples because it kind of leads to there are going to be times where maybe there are some mock drafts where 4 quarterbacks go before we even go. But there are other mock drafts where only 2 quarterbacks go before we go. And those completely change. I can repost it actually real quick if you want me to. Those completely change the outcome of our draft because if 4 quarterbacks go, then we have 4 skilled players left that we can take from.
I need as many quarterbacks taken as possible.
Exactly. I think the hope for all of us is that. But here's what I want to ask you first. I'm just going to go on a position basis. If this is us at the 8th pick, so we're having, in this example, we're going to talk about, we're not trading up. You could trade back, but this is us at the 8th pick. Are there any quarterbacks that would be available at the 8th pick where you would be comfortable be like, actually, you know what? I want to draft that guy.
I don't think so for me.
Quarterback?
No.
Quarterback. And I'm saying this is a hypothetical. Say Bryce Young's available at 8 or CJ Stroud's available at 8. Do you take either one of them over Desmond Ridder?
I'd rather have Will Levis over either of those guys.
Well, okay, yeah, or any of your guys. I'm giving you an example. Quarterback. Give me a quarterback.
I would rather have Will Levis probably than Desmond Ridder because that's how high I am on him. But that's not what I want to happen because
that's not what
we wouldn't get any return for what Ridder is, which he is a capable starting quarterback in the league. But what do you do at that point? Why are we the same reason why I don't want Bijan because we have that position covered already, and it would be wasted if we use it. So that's my my thoughts.
So even if Will Levis, he would be your guy, but even if he was available, you're like, nah, probably not.
Yeah, exactly. If a quarterback is available at that spot still, one of those top 4, then I would like to trade down.
Trade down, right? And that's kind of where I'm at too on this. Kai's, is there any quarterback that might move your meter? Like
quarterback, no, absolutely not. But there is somebody I'd want to go trade up for. I don't know if we want to.
We will get into that. We will. I just wanted to do this first. I have a little order, but we will get to this. So for me, I'm with y'all. I think I might think about it if Bryce Young or CJ Stroud fell to 8. It's not going to happen though. Like those are just not going to happen. No. I'm higher on those two than I am Will Levis, for example, because I think Will Levis could actually be there at 8. There is potential. He could be there at 8.
He should be there at 8.
I like his size. I like the way he gets rid of the ball quickly. It's very Tom Brady-esque, the release. So that's my take. I don't like the size of Bryce Young. It scares me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with Bryce Young's size, but there's some things that are intangibles that kind of come off the page for him. No, I don't
care if it's inedible or not. Like, I mean,
I saw a lot of people on Twitter today actually comparing Ritter to Will Levis and talking about how a lot of the things actually are very similar. The only difference would be probably Will Levis's arm strength's better. But if you look at like game leadership, like Ritter was way better in game examples. I mean, he took a team that should never been in the college football playoffs to the college football playoffs. Like, I think a lot of people discount that. Like they don't actually think about it. All right, next position, running back. Are there any running backs at 8?
Stop it. Stop that.
There should never be a running back in the first round in a year, ever.
Get out of here.
That's fair.
There's not one running back. Emmitt Smith himself could come back. We could get a clone of Emmitt Smith. Same. We could get a clone of Barry Sanders. I'm not taking him at 8.
I'll take him at 30.
Yeah. So Mark Zeno today.
He'd be the lone first rounder, and it'd be down there, like Hayden said.
So Mark Zeno was filling in for our boy Andy Bucker on 99 The Game, which is my favorite show on 99 The Game, Randy and Andy. And he actually was like, to my surprise, was really going after Bijan and said the Falcons would be dumb not to draft Bijan at 8. And I know I did that. I made the same looks y'all are, but
who said that? Andy or Randy?
No, neither one. Mark Zeno was filling.
Oh, you said they were filling in,
which is weird because I always thought Mark Zeno was like the lineman kind of guy, but his argument was
he's the dumb kind of guy. I can tell you that's who he is.
Well, his argument was you should go after the best player. Period. Doesn't matter.
No, absolutely not.
And
that's been the way of thinking for too long. And his point was, the Patriots have won a lot of championships, best player available. And I was like, I don't think the Patriots have got best player available. They also were even to that point. He's missing why they won those championships. Why they won those championships was wearing number 12.
They had the best quarterback of all time,
and they had a top
15 years.
Yes.
Yeah, that fucking helps.
Well, also you are allowed, and also they're picking. I don't think they ever picked above 30.
Well, that's my point.
They're picking those type players. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, you're good.
But yeah, it's like that's why.
No, it needs to be said. And Randy made a point too. He goes, "Yeah, if we were the Philadelphia Eagles, maybe we pick Bijan and go best player available because the Falcons can't make that luxury right now." Oh. And I think he just overthought the fact that like the Patriots were good for 20 years, and that's why they could pick best player available when they were picking at 30.
I think that's what happened with
Randy or Andy. Sorry,
he's with Randy. So Randy was like, "No."
Yeah, imagine that Randy, the smart one. Not that Andy's not, but Randy, the dude that was a high caliber and at a high level.
Yeah,
he was a great tight end at UGA, a great tight end,
great career
for the Dolphins and the Chargers. Played with your boy Phillip Rivers, Hayden.
He did. You know how much you love Phillip Rivers, Hayden.
Yeah. I really don't, but
no, you love him. Shut up.
Anywho,
we all love Phillip.
A lot of people argued that Kyle Pitts was the best talent in that draft. Like the highest upside, like the more, like all the different analytics and skills said that he was like the highest rated talent.
But actually, it's Micah Parsons, and I think we could all agree on that. Like he is the highest. Even if you took Micah Parsons at 1 overall, he would still be the best bang for your buck pick. That's how good he's been.
Oh yeah.
And no, I completely agree with you. He was saying Zeno's other argument was, well, Art Smith's offense is not going to change. He's still going to try to run the ball. Like when you want the best player at that position to run the ball, and I was just thinking like,
no,
I mean,
rather have the best lineman. To be honest,
I need someone with a pulse who is fast.
Yeah,
and guess what? The NFL is chock full of those. Okay?
And something that helps your argument too, which I'm with y'all. I don't want Bijan at 8. If I don't know what our team's going to do, I can't say we're not going to draft Bijan because we've drafted offense first 3 or
Terry has shown us enough that I think he's not going to go that route.
Yeah, I feel like we can trust him too. I do too, but I'm not ruling out us trading back and also still drafting Bijan is what I'm saying. I don't think he's dumb enough to draft him at 8, but I could see him trading back and drafting him later in the first round.
Much.
But our friend of the show, I wish, Mina Keems, Mina Kimes. I do it every time.
Actual friend of
the show. Yeah. So she actually tweeted out something from someone else. It was the premium players on the 2022 NFL playoff rosters. And it was just to talk about first round picks and how many of that position made it to the playoffs. And only 3 running backs that were drafted in the first round out of the 16 teams that made the playoffs. So it's small sample size because we're only looking at 2022, but still, that's very low. I mean, it's very like it's good argument for why you shouldn't.
Who are the other ones? Mixon, probably.
Mixon was a first round pick, probably.
Has issues off the field.
Zeke,
who is being carried by Tony Pollard.
Tony Pollard, the better running back.
Was Dalvin Cook?
Yeah.
I think Dalvin was first.
Was he first round?
Oh yeah,
second. No, he's second round.
Oh, he was second.
Beginning of the second.
And that just shows you too how good of players you can get in the second round. So to her point, to your point, to the point we've been making, we don't need to go running back.
Draft Kenny McIntosh in the 5th. For the love of God.
Wide receiver, guys. Wide receiver. Was there any wide receivers? I know. So one of our friends of the show, Frank, shout out Frank. He wants to talk about Jackson Smith
and
Jigba, or what's his initials?
JSN.
JSN. Yeah. Wanted to talk about him. He would be the only. I'm not saying I want to draft him. I'm just saying he's the only wide receiver that I would give a first round grade to. Like personally, like he's by far to me the best cut above every other wide receiver. And that's no like knock on what's his name, Quentin Johnson for TCU, but like I don't know, he didn't impress me against the Dogs that much. And like
that's what sucks. I wish we had seen JSN like against UJ. I'm glad he didn't play because who knows what we may have not have won. But he was their number 1 wide receiver above Marvin Harrison. Maybe it's because he's older. I don't know. But Marvin Harrison is I don't know. He seems like
Marvin Harrison's stud too, but JSN, like, I mean, he just pops off I think he's more explosive as a player, just in general. And so to y'all, would you
He's a little bigger, isn't he, too?
He is a little more size. Yes. Yeah. I mean, he's your prototypical X receiver. I mean, he's basically like, we have Drake London, though, is my point. Like, I don't know if we need to with him. And I don't see our offense going that route. But would y'all want to draft him at 8 or trade back to get a receiver?
Not even close.
On the first. I mean, if we traded back to the end of the first, maybe, but not that early.
I'd still be unhappy with it too.
I'm there with you. And I don't think it's any fault of Jackson Smith and Nigma. I think he's a great talent, and I think whoever gets him will be incredible. But there's a lot of other needier teams for him, and it doesn't make sense for us to go after him. No. And one of the teams that would make sense would be like the Texans but like y'all said, he should go further down in the first round.
Now, if we're talking second round or third round, Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee may still be on the board, which I think would be a really good fit.
Falcons. Other names I like too are Trey Palmer. I think he was at Nebraska. I also really like Trey Tucker, who was from Cincinnati, who played with
Trey
Ritter.
Squared.
There's two good receivers out of Cincinnati that I would like to reunite with.
Old Desbo?
Yeah, it would be nice to. We're actually, just so y'all know, if you're a fan of Desmond, they're calling us Desbians now.
Desbians. Hell yeah.
Because it's an insult to like Desmond Ritter. To give the young guy a chance, we're now being insulted. I don't understand, but I left tight end off this list because we should not go tight end first round. Offensive line.
Until next year.
Offensive line. And I know we brought this up. You brought this up last week. Frank wants to talk a little bit more about him. Peter Skoronski. So I looked into Peter Skoronski. He actually came out of high school as a 5-star center. He moved to left tackle because of the COVID season. The person who started in front of him took the year off, I guess, or didn't play, bowed out of the season. And then Peter Skoronski goes on to be, I mean, probably the best offensive lineman in this draft. Now, a lot of people, he played left tackle his entire time in college, but a lot of people think he's prototypical guard. Like that would be where his better fit is. How do y'all feel about drafting a guard at 8? That's my only thing.
No, that was my pick last week.
Right. I know it was your pick. Does that scare you at all? Does that bother you at all, a guard at 8?
No, because I'll say that he comes in, he's your starting left guard right now.
It's foundation. It's a foundational pick, and it's something that you have more certainty than with a skill position, in my opinion.
Right. Yes. And he's the only guy of all the tackles I'd be willing to take at 8. because he can plug in the guard. Like he
Yes.
played it in high school. He also is a more natural fit to that position.
And the people who are afraid of his short arms, that matters.
It bodes
less.
well for guard. Yeah. Well, I was looking on NFL.com has a really good like run on all the scout, like all the players in the top. And one of the things was he did have short arms, but that's something that playing guard, it would matter much less having the short arms. My caveat for Peter and why guard is not my first choice at 8. And reason why is I think you could get just as good of a guard by trading up into the back of the first or taking one in the second. Not as good as him, but the drop off from the other positions.
Yeah.
Because it's all opportunity cost. The whole NFL draft is opportunity cost.
Yeah,
so you're trying to maximize the most talent at the best pick, just like you are in fantasy football. Like it's the same exact thing they're trying to do. So maybe Peter's not my first choice there, but really, and we're going to do this next week. So if you're listening, guys, mock draft before next week's episode so you can compare your mock drafts to our mock drafts, because we are going to mock draft before next episode, guys. And I would suggest you do a couple mocks so you can see how the board's kind of going, and that way you can get your best mock you want. But I really do think, depending on how the actual draft plays out, really depends on who you might go here. Like say Jalen Carter. All right, say only 2 quarterbacks go in the top 8. And then you see Jalen Carter goes, Tyree Wilson goes, Will Anderson goes, Christian Gonzalez goes, and
Devin Witherspoon.
Weatherspoon goes, and then we need a 6th player too that would have to go. And then say
Skronsky.
Say Skronsky goes, yeah. And now we're at 8. And all those guys are gone. Like it is scary. I
think you'd be able to trade back in that situation though.
Yeah, I think that's when you trade back.
No, 100%. And I think the Falcons are in such a great spot because of that, because we can trade back. Like we have a lot of luxury in that. And I think because we're not going best player available, and I actually think it helps us out going needs, because if say it does play out like that and you're like, well, I don't want to take Nolan Smith at 8. Well, I'll just trade back with a team that wants to jump up to 8 and I'll get Nolan Smith there or whoever it may be.
If you drop back 3-4 picks right there, and then you are able to pick up like Nolan Smith,
and get like
an additional pick, or I don't know, maybe if you find yourself in no man's land, then you take a receiver like JSN, which it would feel like you're stuck in the middle of where you want to be, but then you don't want to reach for somebody else, and you don't want to be in that spot either.
Right, and my point in getting to that, why I mentioned that was, one, I think it's good to mock several times because we don't know how the board's going to play out, and so we don't know all the options we're going to have. But 2, we could get in a weird situation where we are stuck taking like a Jackson Smith and Ingram, which, man, I'd rather take Bijan than him. I'm gonna be honest. Like I would. I mean, you just line Bijan up at the slot at that point, and he's your other receiver too. He can play slot.
Disagree.
Yeah.
Oh, you would rather take Jackson Smith over?
Yes. Oh,
100%.
Wow.
I'm with Hayden.
It's a positional thing.
Yeah. No, I get that, and I also, now you're changing my mind right here on the spot. I talked about this last year, and I think it was super smart. We took Drake London in the first round because wide receivers are such a hot, like the top cap wide receiver this year is $30 million to DeAndre Hopkins, and they're trying to trade him. So rookie wide receivers who produce on the first round, and first round production wide receivers typically produce. You're getting a major discount. So I don't hate that.
Blake, let me ask you this, and it seems like you are about to move on.
Yeah, I am.
When can I tell you who I want to trade up for?
Yeah, no. So here's my next example was this. There's a lot of rumors coming out that the Cardinals want to trade back. They're the 3rd pick of the draft. If you traded up to the 3rd pick of the draft, who are you taking?
Will Anderson. And it's not even close.
Dude, I'm right there. And
if we could do that, I was thinking about trading with the Colts at 4 and get Will Anderson. 3 makes it even better because he's that good, of course. There's no drop off from taking him at 3 or 4. Obviously 4,
Did y'all? Well, you might not get him at 4 potentially.
Right. Yeah,
that would be.
So, is there that much of a drop off between him and like Nolan Smith or Tyree?
Well, I was gonna ask y'all this. So I sent y'all Chris Sims rankings earlier, which I don't like Chris Sims. He just doesn't make any sense. But he has Will Anderson as tier 3. He has him below, and his name is the number 5 edge below Tyree Wilson, Lucas Van Ness, Nolan Smith, and Will McDonald the 4th.
Just dumb.
It's really like Will McDonald the 4th projected to go in the 2nd round.
Chris Sims is as good of an analyst as he was quarterback. So
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I like that. It's a good take.
So for me, I don't know exactly how Falcons want to build their defensive line. Part of me thinks they want to go big because the Calais Campbell signing, bringing on Yamada, which makes me rather maybe go Tyree Wilson. But I don't want to trade up to 3 for Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, and so the reason I want Will Anderson, it solves your edge rusher problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then the reason I don't want Jalen Carter per se is because you just signed a defensive tackle and you got Grady Jarrett. Now I get it. David Onyemata is not the long-term solution. We probably got 2 or 3 years of Onyemata being the starter if everything goes well. And then Jalen Carter would step in after that. And of course, he's playing the whole time, obviously, you rotate out. But still, I think you got better value at Will Anderson because it's not because Jalen Carter's not a position of need per se, like edge rusher is.
Right.
And he's better.
Yeah. I mean, I get that argument. And I think if you're trading up to 3, you're taking Will Anderson over Jalen Carter. Like, I don't want to trade up to take Jalen Carter.
No.
That's where I'm at. I'd rather wait. If he falls to 8, let's take him right then and there. Like, I'm fine with that. But I don't want to trade up to get him. But what I'll say about the Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, one is we have a new defense. Like, we're doing a multiples defense, which means the front 3 will be Calais Campbell, Onyemata, and Grady Jarrett. So you're basically starting 3 defensive tackles in a way. He doesn't play defensive tackle exactly. He's just a huge edge, which makes me kind of feel like Tyree Wilson makes a lot of sense.
He plays a lot of 3 technique too, I think.
Yeah, he does. He does a little both, 3 and 5.
But he doesn't play the 1 or the 0.
Right. Hayden, get back to the question. If you're trading up to 3, who are you taking? Cardinals are looking.
Like, have to.
Yeah, just say this. Yeah,
I'm gonna trade up, then I'm gonna trade back and net a few picks.
No, you have to in this situation. Yeah, you have to trade up.
I mean, I think it would have to be Will Anderson because that's the only thing that makes sense for our positional need and I mean, it's too early for Peter, and then I don't know unless you really want to take like a CJ Stroud or something there.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I think I really do think Stroud is like a solid prospect just from what we saw in the huge
he
game.
looked incredible against the Dogs.
I'm thinking like as strong as a prospect as like Andrew Luck was.
Yeah, and I agree because like he had the best game of his career, CJ Stroud, I think
it was his best game.
I think it was his best game. It wasn't his best game number wise per se. You could probably point to some shit he did against Northwestern, but like,
sorry, Peter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like, it was his best game because it was the biggest stage he's ever been on. He played absolutely lights out. He unlocked a side of his game people thought he didn't have, which was running the ball.
Yeah,
and doing that in a smart fashion.
Yeah.
And, against a fully professional defense, against the best defensive coordinator in football.
You went to my exact point, which was that I put stock into how well people play against Georgia and Alabama. Yeah. If you play well against those defenses, and then I think you've got a good chance to show it in the NFL. That's why I'm not high on Quentin Johnson from TCU.
Yeah.
It's not all on him. He's the wide receiver. The quarterback couldn't give him the ball. And that's really not the quarterback's fault either. It's because our offensive line or their offensive line was half the size of our defensive line.
Yeah. But he's actually fallen in a lot of drafts though. Like Quentin Johnson. Yeah, they're calling him like, and a lot of wide receivers have. There's actually only one projected to go in the top 15, and that is Jackson Smith.
But it just, I think they're a good litmus test. The Georgia and Alabama defense.
Absolutely. I mean, and that was my point earlier. If CJ Stroud did fall to you at 8, would you take him? And for me, like, there's a big part of me who might take him. There's no way he falls to 8. I understand that. But if you're trying to compare careers, like, if you're comparing CJ Stroud to an Andrew Luck level of pedigree, I mean, that's better than Desmond Ridder.
Blake,
you know what I mean?
Think about this. No, I do. But you've got to be living in a world where you didn't come out publicly and say Desmond's your starter. And you didn't sign Taylor Heineke either.
100%. No,
if you're in a world where neither of those happen, then yes.
Yes.
But even if
he's going to be on the Panthers.
8, yes.
Yeah. Oh, if the Panthers traded up for anyone else besides CJ Stroud, and also let me also
that'd be hilarious.
I will caveat for all of us.
They should trade the number
I said
one
it again, guys.
Like said.
I didn't realize how much I said that word.
You did?
I didn't realize it until you said it.
We'll work on it.
We will.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is, and I'm going to fence right a little bit, is that predicting a quarterback to be successful in the NFL is like one of the hardest things to do. Like, I mean, they struggle at it every year. Like, that's why you get Ryan Leafs. And so, I mean, we could say all this stuff about CJ Stroud and he might go out there and be awful, but he would be my guy too. Like, if I'm the Panthers, that's who you should take.
Here's a fun fact. to take a page out of Blake's book. Speaking of fence riding, the best way to ride a fence is to put the post directly in your mouth. So that way you're on both sides, and you still got your hands and arms and legs free. Yeah,
that's fair.
Really, you guys? That's a line from The Office. Dwight said that.
Wow.
That was a deep cut, apparently.
You did pull deep for that one in your bag of tricks. I wasn't prepared for that one.
But yeah.
Okay. All right.
I liked it though. So I actually did some research today about last year's 2022, our draft picks, and who we drafted based on, like, you get the top 30 visits. That's 30.
We're an hour 45 in, by the way.
That's fine. So you get 30 players you can visit with as an NFL team. And last year, of the people we drafted, Desmond Ridder and Tyler Algier played in the Senior Bowl. So that's where we talked to both of them. And then the combine, we had one-on-ones with Drake London, and then we had a private workout with D'Angelo Malone. That's 4 players of like the 8 or 9 we drafted last year. That's it. Those are the only players like we met with that are like reported that we knew about. And so to that point, there's like 19 players we've met with so far in our top 30 visits, including Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and some other guys. Like, we did do quarterbacks. But I think the reason we pick quarterbacks, and a lot of people think it's a waste of time, is that, one, we're scouting out who our competition is potentially. Like Panthers
you said it earlier, doing your due diligence.
And you got to do your due diligence. Also, you have to, like, say one of these kids come in there and wow you in ways that like Desmond Ridder don't. Like, quarterback is the most important position. If you fail at quarterback, you're not going to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
I mean, it's fair.
You have to have a quarterback.
If you're the Falcons and you swing on a quarterback, you cannot fucking miss.
No.
If you like completely toss Ridder to the side, like
I'm not saying we're doing that.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like, if they actually did that, that would be wild. Don't see that happening. But
yeah, I don't see that happening either. I really don't. One last thing I just want to get into. So Sharp Football Analytics, they're called the number 1 most accurate mock drafter over the last 5 seasons. So I guess they've had the most accuracy. Right now they have 3 quarterbacks going in the top 10 or top 3: CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, in that order. They have the Colts trading up to 3 to get Anthony Richardson. Cardinals taking Will Anderson at 4. Seahawks taking Tyree Wilson at 5. Lions going after Devin Witherspoon at 6. This is a big deal because Devin Witherspoon just ran that 4.39, which is the only reason he's even now past Christian Gonzalez. Raiders take Christian Gonzalez at 7, and the Falcons land Jalen Carter at 8. These people are considered the most accurate. As I was pretty surprised that. I'll be honest with you. I'm not against Jalen Carter at 8. I'm not against Tyree Wilson at 8. I'm not against any of these defensive players at 8. I think we should go defense at 8 or Peter at 8, and I'm fine with all of that. And Hayden, I would like to hear now your ideal situation at 8. If you had anything, you could choose anything to do with that pick. What are you doing?
I mean, if it falls like that.
Oh no, it doesn't have to fall like that. I'm just saying, in like your ideal world, like you said, you might want to trade back. Like, is that what you'd rather do? Like, is that your preferred?
I'm hoping we get one of those 2 cornerbacks.
That would be great too.
If they aren't there, then I would trade it back, pending like Tyree Wilson or Jalen Carter. Not Jalen. Will Anderson.
So your cornerback, edge, not there. Trade back and get whoever's the next best.
Yeah,
accumulate picks.
I mean, if Will Anderson's there, I'd probably prioritize him over the corners. But I say corners because that's what I expect.
It's most realistic.
More likely is going to be there. I don't know how I feel about Jalen. I feel like he might need a fresh start in a new place. That's kind of a worry I have about Bulldogs transitioning into.
That's a good point.
It's like too close to home almost.
Especially when you've had this bad juju.
Yeah.
He's had some bad vibes going about. Yeah,
he has.
What about you, Aaron? Is it still Peter? Has it changed at all for you?
Yeah, it's Peter. Well,
Nice.
that ain't changing because my priority list is offensive line and then edge.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's because guess what? There's this magical phenomena that people don't notice a lot of times. When you have a good offensive line, it's crazy how things just work better.
It does.
It's
make your whole offense better.
How other players, like, that's when you start talking about other players having great seasons.
Yeah.
If we have a great offensive line this year and we draft Peter Skoronski or somebody, if the line is really good, then you won't hear too much about them to start with. But that's when you'll start hearing about Tyler Algier, and you'll start hearing about Drake London getting the ball more. You'll start hearing about Desmond Ridder's success in his second year.
Hey,
that's because of them.
Hell, the one year that Matt Ryan had a good offensive line, he won an MVP. So, like, as a Falcons fan, we know what it's like to have one good offensive line.
You're telling me he got carried to an MVP by his offensive line is what I'm hearing.
No, we're talking about the
you,
importance
every
of
quarterback
it.
that's ever won an MVP was carried there by their offensive line.
Yeah,
I had to
mean,
say it. I had to say it. You know
I
it was
am-
coming.
I
it was
am right
coming.
there with you, Aaron. I like I said earlier, I prefer to get that in the second round or trade back up in the first. Here's the thing: we have so much draft capital. Like, I'm not opposed to the Falcons making some moves. This,
Yeah, it's a good point. This is the year we get the Julio pick, right?
Yep. And so, one last thing before we end this, I just want to point out. So, Sharp has us taking Jalen Carter. PFF has us taking Lucas Van Ness, the edge rusher out of Iowa. AtlantaFalcons.com has us taking Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback. What website is this? I don't even know them. This website, Pro Football, QP Pro Football Network.
No
Sorry,
idea what
they just have a
Sounds
weird
reliable.
logo. Pro Football Network has
Yeah.
us taking Nolan Smith at 8.
Yeah.
And then NFL.com has us taking Lucas Van Ness at 8, and then CBS has us taking us Peter Scarons. Or no, Will Lev. This one has us actually. Sorry guys, this one has us doing some weird ass trade where we trade up to 4 and take Will Anderson Jr.
Hell yeah.
Gotcha, Aaron. Aaron's like, what? Yeah, and
Okay,
actually has to
there
take
we
Will
go.
Anderson. So that helps a lot. What I want to point out is all these drafts, mock drafts, which they never know which player exactly is going to go, but they do a pretty good job position wise. They all have us taking a defensive player or
And
Peter.
I'd be
or
very
offense.
happy with that.
So I just think that hopefully the juju works out where it sticks this way and we do go defensive. And like I said, next week we are going to bring in our own picks. So we're gonna do a mock draft. We're gonna draft. I want to mock every round, guys. So do a couple of them. So that way, because it's gonna play out very differently. You could do some trades and whatnot if you want to.
Are you mocking me?
I'm not mocking you.
Hey-o.
I'm
Not until
mocking
next
you.
week.
Yeah, next
Yeah,
week.
and
we'll
then we can
mocking.
decide what's the best mock draft based on all that, or which one. Not even best, but like what we would want to happen, preferably, have all this play out. And I want to end the Falcons talk, and also, I guess, the podcast, because it sounds like we're about to wrap up with office talk. Last week we talked about hot takes, and Hayden really set us off a little bit talking about Philip Rivers and Matt Ryan.
Still
and
lingering.
so this week at your office, just talk. Ask your coworkers who's better, who's a better career, Matt Ryan or Philip Rivers.
Okay. We're getting away from what the argument was.
Are we?
If Matt Ryan was a Hall
Yeah.
of Fame quarterback or not? Ask that question.
Okay, that's
Not-
fair.
I'm saying there that Philip Rivers and Matt Ryan are the same tier. That you guys are arguing otherwise. I think neither one of them are Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but they have comparable stats and
So-
situations.
Hayden, I didn't say this earlier. We're at work. Oh God, hold on a second.
His dog barking. I will talk first before Aaron. I
Please.
was not arguing. I think Matt Ryan could be a Hall of Fame quarterback, but my argument, I was more upset when people started saying Philip Rivers deserves more higher accolade than Matt Ryan, because I think Matt Ryan has passed Philip Rivers when it comes to, like, if you're just doing a pecking order. I just think Matt Ryan has passed Philip.
So what I was going to say is that, to me, I think it's hard to make the argument against not putting the best player in any NFL franchise's team history into the Hall of Fame. I think if you are an NFL team's best player they've ever had, you get to go to the Hall of Fame, and that's what Matt
Okay.
Ryan is.
What are all the teams that haven't won a Super Bowl? Because I think that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah,
And
the
it goes
Falcons-
hand in hand. I see
Is that fair though? Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't think
I
it's
just-
fair because of what we said earlier, which is the one year he had a good offensive line, we went to the Super Bowl, and by all,
He got carried to the Super Bowl by his offensive line. That's what you're telling me.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
but you
Just
can
like
say the
everyone
same.
else, like I said.
Here's my hottest take, and y'all don't like this. Tom Brady being the best quarterback to ever play. I mean, yeah, he won 7 Super Bowls, but also every year he went to the Super Bowl, he had a top 10 defense. Matt Ryan never had that. Like, the problem I have with doing the stat, like the Super Bowl rings as this is the best player to ever play, is that it's team. Those are team-based
Yes.
accolades, where all the other ones are player-based accolades.
I am not saying that personally, if it was my Hall of Fame, okay, sure, whatever. I wouldn't be limiting it by Super Bowl wins. But if you look at the list I sent
The
you
Hall
on
of Fame.
Wikipedia,
Yes.
the comparison of quarterbacks win versus loss by year, it'll tell you exactly what's going to happen.
I
Because
know.
every losing quarterback that didn't later win a Super Bowl, none of them are getting the Hall of Fame. It's not going to happen.
That's fair. And I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm saying it's flawed, and I really dislike it.
And then the ones that did win one Super Bowl, they may not make it either. Russell Wilson, he has to turn some shit around for the end of his career.
He's not going to make it if his
Joe
career,
Flacco, obviously not. Nick Foles, Trent Dilfer, and all the other ones, I guess Brad Johnson on that list as well. Tom Brady, Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, all those guys are going to be in. And that's the same era. Matthew Stafford as well. And then Mahomes.
But see, I don't think
era behind, but
see, that would kill me in this. That would kill me if Stafford gets it over Matt Ryan. And I
really hope it wouldn't kill you because you may be dead.
that
it's going to happen.
All right, so
crazy.
I just want to throw one stat out there for this argument.
Yeah,
you guys familiar with Ken Stabler?
The old Stabler?
Yeah, you may not be. Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Oakland Raiders when John Madden was their coach.
Never heard of him.
Ken Stabler has a career touchdown to interception ratio of 194 to 222. That's right, folks. He's thrown 28 more interceptions in his career than touchdowns. And guess where his name resides?
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame.
It's a Super Bowl ring, though.
Yeah,
and it's
so
also
he won the Super Bowl, is what you're saying.
I'm agreeing with you on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
no
one's disagreeing with you.
I'm sorry. I'm just running hot. I'm running hot.
No, you're good. No one's disagreeing
unfairly
with your
means
logic.
more.
And it happens in every sports. Team accolades should have no effect over players like trying to say like the history of the player when it comes to how good they were. I just don't think so.
Unless you're the quarterback.
Real quick, Hayden, hit the Dawgs button real quick.
Oh.
Real fast.
How about them dogs?
The Dawgs signed the number 1 overall tight end in the 2025 class. Yeah, shocker there. Ellis Williams, I think that's how you pronounce it. Ellis is spelled weird, or spelled differently, I should say. And I
hope that's how you say it.
Yeah,
because there's going to be some corner stuck on Ellis Island. If that's the case.
Here's the crazy thing about him and why I wanted to illustrate him, though. He plays defensive end and tight end at his high school, Charlton County. And get this. While he is the number 1 overall, while he's the number 1 tight end in that class, he's also a 5-star edge rusher in that class. I wasn't able to look up and see what number ranking he is.
Wow!
But he's 5 stars at 2 positions.
Let him play.
He did come out and say though he wants to play tight end only at UGA.
He should. He should.
Fine. I went both.
Yeah. Well, with as much as we rotate linemen, you could maybe, but yeah.
Is that it? Is that all we got for UGA?
That's it. Blursed.
Well, I was going to say
Go Dogs,
more, but
G-Day
like we
this
ran
weekend,
a little
right?
Late. Yeah, that's right. G-Day's this weekend.
We'll give a little recap of that.
Blursed Nation. Let's ride.
Absolutely will. I'll be watching the shit out of it.
Almost our first 2-hour show. Later, everybody.
Peace.
Before you go, if you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share with your friends. If you'd like to see these mugs, all of our video podcasts are now available on YouTube, where you can like, comment, and subscribe. For more content, follow at Blur Sports on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You can also follow us individually at Blursed Blake, at Blursed Hayden, and at @A_Kais. If you're interested in chatting with us directly, join our new Discord community by typing discord.io/blursedsports into your browser. As always, a huge shout out to our music man Oh No for keeping the vibe right and laying down straight slappers every week. You can find his information in the show notes. Thanks again so much for listening, and see you next week.